11-8, everybody.
It's Wednesday, my dudes.
That was actually pretty good.
That was great.
That was good.
That was actually funny.
Guys, back. I've taken a little break. People were missing. We're missing 2 people right now. Lily will be here in a little bit. Into session. This isn't a TV show. Session, episode, whatever. 14. Episode 14.
Since I've started this campaign with you fellow companions. This is session 41 for me.
Oh wow. I have no count of how many episodes or how many sessions. I have no way of counting that.
You've been flying for like a couple years.
It's probably close to a year right now. I remember coming here in the snow last year, so it's almost there.
Would probably be about right, yeah.
Almost a year.
You guys might have started it after the New Year?
I think we started before it.
Maybe. Either way, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. But yeah,
no, you know what? It had to be because it was while Steve was still here. And Steve left in February.
True.
So you probably have been playing for a year, probably sometime this month.
Nice. Guys, let's throw a party. Canceled.
Let's play D&D some weird good shit face.
11:30, the night that I died.
Oh yeah, that was session number 1. So end of this month is when you 11:30 is the year of the day.
Fantastic. Happy anniversary to Fenrir. Coming up.
Happy Death
Day to Jeremiah.
Yeah. But yeah, session, aka
guys,
episode.
Let's throw a party in the court of King Hasid Abram, right?
Oh, I'm not ready for the party.
Oh, that's
We'll
right. It's
celebrate.
party night.
I did get my hair done.
Yeah, you did clean up.
I cleaned it up.
Guys, are you ready?
I'm ready.
On the last exciting episode of Dungeons and Dragon Ball Z.
I guess Brandon has a friend.
That didn't happen. Our group of adventurers, Nocturna, returned to Narc after liberating a mine from the terror of an adult Bahir and its child. While they were there, they met one of the miners that had been in the mine before. I have his name written down. I will find it.
Risa the cannibal.
Riso, that's it. They found one of the miners. Riso was still hiding in the mine. He had been down one of the offshoots and was
Eating the flesh of those ones.
eating. Yes. Hey, it's Lily.
That's right, Eric.
Yeah. He was managed to survive by feasting on the corpses of the other. Stop. By eating the other corpses of the other miners that were around with him. Group returned to Narc, cleared themselves of this task that they had that was given to them by a criminal organization called the Order of Discord. While clearing up the bounty, or not bounty, but clearing up the job, they were given a chest by the person that had originally sent them to the city to deal with this. And he was under the assumption that someone in the party had something had happened, that there was a gift that was given to him that he didn't like, and he wanted to return it to them. And in the chest was gold as repayment for completing their task, as well as the severed hand, or a severed hand of a human holding a dagger. A group not quite sure what that message meant. Aside from, went about their business. After leaving the tavern, Risha went on his way, and they were met by a courier after doing some shopping. They were met by a courier who had sent them a message, the king had sent them a message calling the champions of Caliceri to come to court. Group going, meeting King Hasid Abram. king of the city of Nark, along with most of his council.
Spell his last name for me, please.
Abrem.
Thanks.
He was young, seemed very excited and encourageable, but seemed to have a fairly steady head. Invited Nocturnum to come to a feast later that evening. The group accepting, went about, spent the rest of their day getting themselves ready for a feast with the king. And we last left with them returning and heading towards the seat of the king, the area of the city where the king's keep is held. And that is where we last left off, assuming I'm not forgetting anything. So, all of you in your party attire, Fenrir and Lune did up, Aubert and Lily wearing fine clothes, Zarn wearing a larger hat than normal, Sindal being appropriately dressed, and Korak wearing nothing as usual, save for his loincloth, whatever else, as well as...
When he dresses up, he actually wears less clothes.
And he is also wearing his fine, high-collared, popped red cloak that he bought before. It's just trailing, almost brushing against the ground at his feet.
Does it still smell bad?
His smelly cloak.
Smells of sulfur.
Brimstone.
It's not a turd.
Yeah. Brimstone, yeah, that's what it is.
Those are worse smells.
So, you find yourselves through the gates and are led up to the seat of the king. Again, you see the keep on your approach. It being later at night now, with the district that you had walked through to get to this point. Did I use the name of that area? I think I might have. Okay. Yeah, so like outside of the walls of the keep, the houses that are in this district are extravagant. You can see the lighting does, even at night, the exterior design of the homes, even in the fading light of day, it works to show off the wealth of the people that live in this area of the city. And again, as you come to the keep, you see the stark contrast to that of the simple design of the keep. It is very plain, just gray stone. Walking up to the keep, up to the entrance, you walk in through the front gates. The guards allow you to pass, and as you walk in, the guards step forward. What looks to be whoever's in charge of this group walks forward and says, "You're all here for the feast tonight. You'll be required to take any arms that you're carrying with yourselves. No weapons to be brought before the king." Do any of you resist this?
No.
Well, my arms are attached to my body, but you can certainly have my weapons.
He looks at you just totally deadpan.
You know Fenrir.
And my weapons, yeah.
Fenrir is a weapon.
Fenrir just outside.
We give him Fenrir.
Not a lot of it.
Hold this.
I go through the metal detector
guys.
naked and it still goes off.
So you guys hand over your weapons. The guards give you just like a brief pat down, just checking to make sure. And you guys are led through the keep into not where you were before, where there's the throne. It wasn't even necessarily a throne. It was more like a slightly more ornate wooden chair. But you're led into a large feasting area. You can see that there are 3 long wooden tables, as well as a table at the head of the procession, where you can see that there is already a fairly decent number of people here, probably around maybe 50 to 75 people just coming in and sitting along. You see that they are already sitting at the tables, helping themselves to drinks. There are servers that are coming around with appetizers and drinks as well. And as you walk in, you see the Malleus, the female tiefling that you had seen before. Her dress that she comes walking up to is very finely crafted and very similar to how you saw her before. It seems to fit to all of her best features, showing at every movement, showing the best things about her. And she comes forward. And she walks up and says, "Glad to see that all of you can make it tonight. Please find yourselves seats. If you would prefer, I think that Hasid will probably wish to speak to you more often than not. So you are actually offered a seat at the head table for dinner, at least. For the time being, if you wish to sit and mingle and have drinks with the other people that are here, please help yourselves. But once dinner is prepared, make your way to the head."
That's quite an honor. Truly. We are truly honored guests.
King Hasid has many questions. He hasn't stopped talking about the people who slew the war chief of legions. Wish to hear all about your tales. She kind of gives almost like a condescending, not condescending, but it's the desire of a child type of thing that he's very excited about it. And she's like, I'm just playing along with whatever he wants. And she goes and excuses herself. And you can see that she goes off and she walks over to a small crowd of people. She's talking to, it looks like just more not aristocrats, but the rich. The rich are here for this.
We've just entered.
Mm-hmm. You're all just kind of standing in the entrance.
Well, do I recognize anybody? I'd like to look around the room.
Make a perception check.
You recognize them? Perception?
Mm-hmm.
23.
23. So you can see, kind of looking around, you see several members of the council that you had seen before. You see Malleus, like you just saw before. You see sitting up at the table by himself, silently just sitting and watching the crowd. Orver, the Master of Judgment, as well as sitting over talking to Elisant. You see her as well amongst the group here. You see Melphine, the Grand Curator for the Commune of Knowledge for the Arcane Citadel. Aside from that, you don't see the King or Calrin. But yeah, you notice the only people outside of the other members of the council that you really recognize out of it is Elisant.
Is that fancy boy elf Garrick here?
He is not here currently.
And as we're walking in, I kind of lean over and I know we have a thing where we start fights at every party we go to. This might not be the one to do that.
I've never started a fight.
And at that moment, Korak punches someone right in the face.
You hear Korak just let out a long, drawn-out sigh. So he walks over to. You see that he walks over to one of the servers.
Immediately fights him.
And you can see that he's having a conversation with them, and he's showing him what he's holding. He reaches down, he pulls out his alchemy jug.
Just imagine this happen. This huge, ripped, almost naked orc with just this flowing red cloak. He's just pulling out this huge jug of alcohol. Hey.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
It's a lot like bringing your own flask to a party. It just doesn't seem
You
necessary.
did hear that he did call out wine in this, so at least he's drinking that, and not ale.
He is efficient though. Give him that.
So, is there anyone that's here at the party so far that you wish to speak to, or do you guys just want to kind of hang out, have some drinks?
What's the musical show like? What's the
I mean, there are. You can see that there is just one. There's a guy that he's maybe in his like mid-30s. You can just hear see that he's just playing the harp. Like there's a full standing harp in the corner. He's just kind of playing it as just kind of background noise. There's no extravagant. There's no musical competition to be had at this point.
Oh well. Maybe later.
We'll challenge to see who has the better mood music.
I wanted to ask you, Melvin, Grand Curator of the
Arcane Syndrome. Yeah. I believe that was the name of it. Let me double check before I tell you something wrong. Yeah, Arcane Citadel. I said. So yeah, what do you guys want to do?
The curator, would that be somebody that like deals with magical things?
Well, yes. Or at least have some sort of knowledge about it.
There's something I want to get destroyed. I wonder if they'd be the person to talk to.
Oh, that flute.
Yes, I don't really feel comfortable with it anymore. Thinking about finding a way to destroy it.
Yes.
Speak a little louder.
I don't feel comfortable with it anymore.
Thank you.
Yes, with this Frozen Emperor looming about, I suppose it would be a curious item.
Yes. That's another situation altogether. Anyways, let's enjoy the party before we get into dark talks.
So, do you want to go talk to these people? You guys just want to kind of hang out, have some drinks until dinner actually starts? Essentially, yeah, you've got Melfin, Elisant, Malleus, and Orifer.
Well,
Orders scares me.
I don't see it particularly necessary to speak with them. I would like to speak with Elisant. Wish her well. We haven't seen her.
Okay. So you head over in that direction. Fenrir, as you and Lune start walking, you can see that several of the guards are just very intently watching the large wolf, and you can see that several of the guests that are here see the wolf and immediately pick up the drinks and just part out of the way, and are just like giving like a weird look to these people that are here, and this large creature that is now walking amongst the party as if it is an invited guest.
Noosh. Do we know who's like curating this event right now? Until the king arrives, obviously.
You're not sure.
I would like to find out if Lune should in fact be here or not. She's welcome.
I mean, you had heard during the initial thing that Hasid had invited all of you. So.
Okay. I'm just gonna
But yeah, okay. So as you walk up, you can see that Melfin and Elisant are deep in discussion, and they appear to just be. You see the two of them are just holding glasses of wine, and just kind of.
Are there people walking around with that?
Yes, there are people walking around with.
I'll snag a nice little
tasty glass of wine. As you walk up, you see Elisant. Oh, wow! I was not expecting to see all of you here at Narc. Wow, it's great to see you. How are you guys doing?
Greetings. Yes, well, the reason that we're here wasn't necessarily our choosing, but we are here. Our task is done, so.
Well, you're not the only one who's here not by their choosing.
Yes, I did hear, back in Jail, sorry. Yes.
Yes, apparently Empress Vidania saw me as unfit for not being able to train 2 wizards to hold off 10,000 or 20,000 orcs. And you get a very distinct sense that there is a harsh level of bitterness. And Melfian just kind of pats her on the shoulder and says, I don't think if the Empress herself had been there that she would have been able to hold them off, so I wouldn't take it too badly.
Yes, the Empress was different than she. Well, that's a conversation for another time. But are you faring well in Nog as compared to Kelsari?
Yes, I've graciously been given my position back as one of the curators of the Arcane Citadel, thanks to Melfian here. It's a great honor to be back. And Melfian she's smiling. She said, yes, it's great to have Elisant back. She's very talented. She has a knack for being able to find things amongst the hidden scriptures that many of which still have gone unread in quite some time. You can just... Elisant is standing like a half step behind her, and you can see that there is like a level of this is not what she wanted to be back to doing, but
This will, a curator here is a high status. Well, it might not be Kelsari, it might not be the same. I suppose that with all that happened in the city, I wouldn't want to be in that position anyway.
yes,
The scrutiny of a master was not something I would want to put on myself.
And Melfian, she said, yes, it's better for Elisant to be away from that city. I mean no offense, but the people of your city are so easily persuaded by the gifts of the shadow that it is not surprising that such things fell upon the city. It's when you tempt the fates of the gods, you invite ruin upon yourself.
Does she have any religious symbols on her?
Yes, it is very apparent. You can see that she has a large. You see that she has a again like her silver hair kind of goes down to the lower part of her back, but you can see that she has a large chain link necklace that at the center of it is a large open tome that you know is the symbol of Arion.
As a grand curator at the is the Arcane Citadel, right?
Mhm.
The Arcane Citadel. What exactly do you do at the Arcane Citadel? Is it mostly study?
It is study and research into what it is that Arion intends for us to rediscover after the culling, with Coralon long having been slain and the weave fell into chaos. The shadow attempted to seize so much of it that much of the weave became corrupted. And Arion, now having seized control of it, he oversees what it is that we continue to research. And we are ever vigilant to not fall prey to the temptations of the shadow.
Interesting.
The shadow, does it have another name? That's your Arion has a name?
It goes by no other name.
We had somewhat of a run-in with him before we met you, Singal. Well, not with him, but a temple that was defaced by his followers. We went in and cleared it out of creatures and sealed a port of the Underdark. It was actually our first adventure together.
Oh, yes.
Interesting. It's good to hear that such evils are removed from the land. And in fact, I mean, the shadow itself does not have a name because it is that. The shadow is the shadow of Arion. When he ascended to become the one who watched over the weave, he expelled all of his evil desires and temptations from himself to gain a level head and clear thoughts, to be able to properly watch over the weave, and all of the things he expelled from himself manifested into the shadow. That is why it is nothing but greed, desire, and pride. Desire to control power. But those that worship the shadow, that is what they see, that is what they seek. And that is why we constantly are ever vigilant to make sure that the temptations of the shadow do not see to the fall of this city.
Is that a decision that one makes consciously, or could simply be deceived?
The practices of something arcane, should be to further one's knowledge, to further the understanding of the weave, to help understand it through those means to bring order to the material plane around us, that we can keep the evils of the chaos of the elemental planes, to keep the Shadowfell, which already still continues to plague these lands, to keep it from swallowing even more of this continent. If your desires are selfish and driven through only your desire to further your personal control over the weave, then you already are on the path to allowing the shadow to consume you. And here, also. Do any of you need something to drink? It appears that I'm fresh out. Oh, waiter. And she kind of walks over, and you see that she kind of goes over and she grabs a couple glasses. I see Melfi just kind of sips her glass, and you see someone, another robed figure, kind of walking by, kind of grabs her attention. And she turns and is talking to them, and Alessandro comes back and kind of hands you guys out some more drinks. Oh, man.
A bit heavy-handed.
You'll find a lot of that amongst the religious leaders in the city.
I mean,
I'm fascinated by it.
it honestly reminds me quite a bit of the Alps, only in different theory, but similar attitude.
Well, the people of this city believe that their stalwart resilience and their faith is the reason that this city has stood for the last 2 ages. So, I suppose that there is possibly something to it, but it's not my cup of tea.
City still stands, and they are still religious.
Longevity in a dangerous world is something to speak for.
It's true, but so you say that the reason for you coming to this city was not of your choice. Is that something you wish to talk about, or just merely curious? If not, it's not a big deal.
A task that was set upon us that we didn't particularly choose for ourselves, but, well, we agreed to it nonetheless.
Yes.
We were bound by a sort of agreement.
We don't want to go too far into details, but
We all have our duties to fulfill.
we do.
Although it does seem as though we may be staying in Narf for quite some time.
Really?
Indeed. I hope to spend quite a bit of time in the Arcane.
I mean, there's not really anywhere for us to go besides back. We could possibly teleport back to Calisari, but other than that, we don't really have anywhere else to go for the winter. So.
Well, I'm sure that there's plenty of things to find and do in the city. My one bit of warning is that in the time that you'll be spending at the at the Citadel. It's not so much a fear of who you are, but where you're from. I have yet to meet an Eladrin that is given full, unfettered access to the Citadel. You're allowed to go and look at whatever you want, but more often than not, you'll be at least assigned a curator to watch over what your research to make sure that you don't fall prey to the temptations that the teachings that Arion has, that you don't turn that into the work of the shadow.
They don't fully trust the elves.
They don't fully trust most people that they don't know.
It means it was the same in Calisteria once again. They had somebody watching over our shoulder while we were trying to study.
Okay, so I can only imagine it will be different here for me.
It might be a little easier for the rest of us though, so hopefully we can make up for it.
So, I mean, you guys have some light conversation. Well, unless there's anything else you guys want to talk about, but like, time passes, like maybe 20, 30 minutes, and you see one of the side doors to kind of back behind the head table open up, and you see Garrick walk out. You can see that he is.
I'm trying to say again.
He's the elf that had all the piercings and was very. He had like all of the different like large gem-studded earrings and was very ornately dressed. He was the master of trade, the fancy elf. Correct.
Fancy.
And you see that as he walks out, you can see he was wearing a lot earlier in the day. He's fully decked out in rings on all of his fingers. All again, his long elven ears, they have earrings from tip to base, as well as ornate robes that you can see that have gemstones embedded into the clothing. You can see that as he walks out, walks out and steps up to the table with a sweeping gesture. The room kind of goes quiet. He says, if all of you will please come to attention, I introduce King Hasid Abrem. And you can see that everyone kind of turns and fully faces to the attention. The music kind of stops as you see Calrin step out, kind of stepping out of the doorway and then kind of stepping to the side as you see King Hasid walk out. You can see that he wears a very simple, golden crown with kind of comes to 3 points with a green emerald set in the center of it. No other gemstones or anything too ornate past that. You can see that he walks out in fairly simple, earth tone. But I mean, not still well dressed, but earth toned cloth robes, as well as the bladeless hilt that hangs at his side. And as he walks out, you can just see that he kind of pats Garrick on the shoulder, and he kind of reaches over to where his seat is, and he kind of grabs up a goblet and he says, "Garrick, enough with the formalities. Welcome everybody. I hope that you're ready for dinner and a fine feast." And you can see that people are starting to kind of gravitate towards their seats. It says, "This is a feast." So this is a feast that is in preparation for the Reincarnation Festival in a few days. With us tonight, I mean, I hope that you enjoy the music. I hope that you enjoy the company you're with. But we have honored guests here. The champions of Calisteria, the ones who defeated Shagra, War Chief of Legions, Champion of Grumsh, Nocturnum. And you see that he kind of gestures to all of you who are still in the process of kind of working your way to your seats. You can see the people kind of politely start clapping. And he says, Nocturnal, please come and find your seats here at the table with me and my advisors. The rest of you, enjoy your food. And you see that he just sets it down and kind of double claps, and you can see that servants immediately kind of start pouring out of the side doors with plates of food immediately coming in and setting them out on the tables for people to start feasting. And all of you are pulled to the table, and it's not a table that's like where all of you are sitting on one side looking over the rest of the crowd. You can see that it is essentially the section where the king is sitting. There is no one sitting directly across from him, but the other parts of the table are like down the sides of him. It is people sitting on both sides, as if anyone can come up and talk to the king. But he is also here that everyone else that is here at the table can converse, and he can be part of the conversations of the table as well. It's a very kind of approachable nature. But you guys come and find your seats. The rest of the council comes and sits down as well. And food is placed before all of you, as well as your choice of drinks and whatever else you can see that there is. There is ham, there's chicken, there's slices of beef, fruit, vegetables, the whole 9 yards of the feast. All of them are brought out before you as you guys kind of take your seats.
A delicious ogre jelly.
As he kind of picks up his glass and offers it up in toast to kind of all of you, not really saying anything. Takes a drink. So, Nocturnum, champions of Calasari. What was it like battling the champion of Garouche?
Well,
What was he like? Was he as dangerous sounding as the tales have already told? Tales tell that he was 20 feet tall, smashed buildings. I assume that is nonsense, but I wish to hear it from the people that defeated him. What was he like?
During a horrifying war,
quite horrifying.
orc raiding and pillaging all our surroundings, he and his commanders did stand against us, yes.
20 feet tall? Try 30 feet tall. It was as if he had the blood of giants, storming through the city, crushing all his sight. Dozens and dozens of orcs around him. They took up a section of the city after breaking down the walls. We had a choice: go in after him and take him out before he was able to claim a true foothold in the city and lay siege to it, or run. We chose to dive headlong into danger. We took out his giants that stormed first towards the walls of the city. Killed his giants. We set a trap, dove in amongst his lieutenants, and took every single one of them out. This man right here, Fenrir, lopped off his head. I believe using his own axe. He took his axe from him and lopped his own head off.
That's correct, my son. That's the way we do it.
Yeah.
Up in concrete, that's how we do it.
We weren't allowed to bring weapons in here, but the axe of Shagra is
It's
amongst,
up there with your
amongst his
god.
possessions.
No, the axe of Fenrir.
It's with the guards. And you see that he immediately snaps, and one of the guards comes over and says, Bring me his axe. I wish to see this."
Ominous red glow.
Roll me a performance check.
Oh yeah.
With
Oh,
gonna be super
let's
high.
see.
It's gonna be super
Performance.
43.
That is a 30.
I think it's a plus 10 actually.
Oh, plus 14, actually.
Oh,
I
okay.
love the performance is your like highest thing.
I love that. That's true bard.
Yeah.
30 feet tall. No wonder so many orcs followed him. Did you happen to hear any of them? Like, did you hear him speak? How was he able to bend the will of 20,000 orcs? They're all beasts to be able to bend that many to his will. There had to be something about him.
We heard
Couldn't
him
just
beg
be.
for mercy right before Fenrir cut his head off.
Oh, I wanted. Can I ask real quick?
Roll a deception check.
Who else is at the
I'll say with advantage because of how high his performance check was.
Who else is like right here listening?
Do you
Is
have
this
luck?
deception?
The at the table.
16.
Wait,
Sorry.
did you? He said with advantage.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, okay.
Who all is listening? All of the council.
Okay.
Including Calran,
Is that
who
all?
is just staring at you.
Is that all that's here, or is that? Or are there more people that we don't
Describe
really
her
know?
face.
No, it
How
is just the council
And us.
and you.
Is she bemused by Zarn, or is she?
She continues to drink.
Malleus, she seems bemused by the tall tale.
Literally tall.
Origer is sitting and just taking in the story, staring impassively.
What is that? The guy who's the king of judgment or whatever? What's
Yes.
he doing? How harshly The is he king of judging judgment. us?
He is just
Judging us.
he is just passively
Judging.
just blank slate,
That's what he's paid for.
just watching and listening.
What was the question they just asked?
He asked,
Um,
how was he
Did you hear
able
him
to?
speak?
able to-
Oh yeah.
And he went on your. You saw him beg for mercy.
16.
He kind of gives you a look. Really, the champion of Grumsh, the war chief of legions, begged for mercy.
You haven't seen us in action. You haven't seen Fenrir.
I haven't
in
seen
action.
you in action yet.
That's true.
And I say,
Hopefully, things won't have to come to that. I would vastly appreciate some peace.
Then Korak jumps up and says,
if
"Let's
you
go
wish to
right
compete
now."
in the arena.
Oh, arena. Well, that's different. That's friendly sport and challenge. That's always welcome. But
Yes, well, we can speak more of that later. But I want to hear, what was it about him?
he had a voice that he's somehow amplified it, carried out over the distance. We heard it during the fighting, echoing loudly. Everyone could hear him. The queen and him would exchange words, her from her magic floating castle, and him amongst his hordes yelling back and forth. Something about his I think it was something about his voice,
Much like
in his aura that
rolling thunder coming across everybody. Everyone heard it
Time pulse is low.
inside. You could hear it like.
Interesting. Perhaps he had magic users amongst his circle that were able to help amplify his voice.
He did indeed. In fact,
Interesting.
I now wield one of their staves.
I possess one of their crowns.
Are you wearing it right now? The antlers? Fascinating. One of his lieutenants was wearing that. And then you can see at that point, one of the guard kind of comes walking up and you see that he's holding the big axe. And you can see that as he kind of asks that, you see his eyes kind of open up wide and like a boyish excitement seeing the axe. He looks back to you. May I?
By all means.
You see that he kind of stands up and Callan, see, please. What you need to do is, I have to see this. It's the weapon of the war chief. I have to see this for myself. And you see he kind of takes it. And he kind of takes a step back away from the table and you see he kind of awkwardly kind of swings it. It is well balanced. You see that he kind of takes a step over to one of the end tables
Oh, jeez.
and just slams it through, and it just cuts straight through, very easily cutting through the wood of the table, and just sheer kind of slam to the side. The two glasses that were on it fall to the ground and shatter, and you can see immediately like many of the people that are eating dinner all get like kind of quiet in the room. They'll turn and look to him. He is just looking at this axe, and you hear.
did he wield it like well, or was it like kind of like a
Make an insight check, both of you.
I wanted to look at the council. I guess I'll pick a specific person, which would be
5?
well, Malleus. I wanted to see how
Did you
Malleus
get a plus 14 on your insight?
because like obviously Avery was kind of probably
Mhm.
taken back by the fact that he's swinging an
16.
axe, but I wanted to see how Malleus felt about him swinging an axe around. Like,
Yeah, I just wanted to see like how his demeanor was while handling the axe in general.
Real quick, oh, so for the axe, you being practiced in many different weapons and the style that they're wielded, you see that it's not. It's not that he doesn't know how to wield it. It looks as if he is very out of practice for swinging such a heavy weapon.
Okay.
For you with Malice, you can see that she was kind of watching, and you can see that she kind of just has this like the same kind of look that she had before, just like a condescending look, and you can see that as he kind of breaks the table, she just kind of shakes her head and takes a drink and just puts it back down. And you can see at that point Garrick, with the crowd all kind of turning. So, the king was merely testing a gift of a defeated enemy. You wish to see it in action. Please continue to your meals. And you see he kind of sits back down and takes his drink, and you hear the sound of the harp continue to play again as people kind of go back to their meals. And he kind of holding the axe as he hands the axe back to the guard. And you use that to cut off his head. Incredible. Incredible, the tales you're telling me. I wish I could have been there. I wish I could have been there myself. To see him fall, to be part of the battle. And,
I raise my hand real quick and say, I have a pretty neat depiction of it, if you would like to see.
oh gee.
oh my god, it's gone, isn't it? Oh, nice. Yeah. Do you have a depiction? Do you have a scroll?
I thought
No, sir.
I thought that was
It is
someone else.
within my own self, if you know what I mean.
Wait, I thought that the one on your back was you killing Nilabir.
That's what I thought.
It was, but that was the second tattoo. I got more.
That's right, I forgot that you did too.
What was the first tattoo?
The first one was no beer, but then I decided I wanted to do it for all of the big people that I wanted to slay.
You would not have had time to do that, because you did the one with Nilabir, and then you guys left Kelisari.
Oh, I went back and finished it with Lily.
It was gonna take like 5 sessions.
Yeah, you finished the one with Nilabir.
Splitting like all of your back.
You did
his
like
head
you
being
did
split
detailed.
open.
You
with-
said you wanted like a big tattoo of it on your back.
Yeah.
It was going to be like a 2 or 3 session thing.
And I finished that one though.
Yeah, you finished
Okay.
that one. You haven't gotten to do the chakra one yet.
Okay.
So we'll redact that because you would know that you didn't have that tattoo.
Cool.
Should have forgot. I was gonna suggest it earlier, but I thought, that
never
back tattoo's
mind.
for someone
I was
else.
just lying.
Just drunk.
So you can see with him saying that he wished, I wish I could have been there. Wish I could have been there to see the Titan be toppled. You see Calrain. My king, none of the forces of Kelisari had yet entered the city. Even if you had marched with us, we would not have been able to been there to see it. We were busy dealing with the rest of his forces, the other several thousand that were still outside. Calrain, you always have to ruin my fun.
Well,
That's why your father brought me here.
if it were not for the forces of Nark, then even with us toppling the great beast, we probably wouldn't have lasted. So, there's something to be said about your forces coming to our aid.
Yes, we would never abandon our elven allies in Kelisari. We would never abandon them to a fate like that. Once we received word from Elisant, and you can see he points in the direction of where she is. Once we received word from Elisant of what was happening, I sent word for the armies to be rallied as quickly as possible. And so they marched with due haste. Sorry. You see, Garrick, kind of tripping. I also heard that you were the ones responsible for saving the Empress after the disaster inside the Heart of Magic. There haven't been many details that have reached us here in the city about that, though.
Well, that I have a translation. No, go ahead. I'll use that afterwards, though.
Well, we heard that there was an attempt on the Empress's life, and that there was a coup of people who had attempted to overthrow the Empress. Some ancient cult of dark elves.
Worshippers of the long dead goddess Loth.
Oh, indeed. And you hear Delphine. She kind of perks up a little bit, kind of leans in. There was a cult of Loth that has existed for this long. It's been over 1,000 years since Loth was slain during the Culling War.
They called themselves the Forgotten Handmaidens of Loth.
Interesting. We'll have to make note of that to see if there's perhaps a forgotten scripture somewhere in the Citadel. I've never heard of it myself, but there is much that is forgotten. It's been long unread.
I could come give you more details on it if you wish to record them sometime.
Yes, of course. It would be wonderful to get a full account of everything that happened there.
Certainly.
And you can see that with this bit of the conversation, Hasid seems interested, but not as much. This is less of the tall tale. He says, "What did you encounter anything aside from the betrayers? Did they have any allies with them? Anything of note? Anything that would rival the battle against Shagra?"
Well, were these nasty creatures that were... I forget what they were called. Do you remember?
There was a creature. It looked as if a large bipedal frog with claws and fangs. It was called a slog. It was infecting the people in there, turning them into slots. We slew that. There was a prison of sorts in the Citadel, and there were creatures held in it for study that were all released when the Citadel was invaded. We encountered that. There was a large stone golem that was eating lacrima to power itself. We slew that creature. There was when we finally got to the heart of magic, we found the cult of Loth followers performing a ritual. Amongst them was a demon looking as if it was made of wax. That, I believe, is what the Handmaidens of Loth used to be. We slew that creature, and just as we finished, the ritual was partially completed, and as we finished killing the leader of the Dark Elves, a portal opened, and we were reciting words to destroy it, but as we were reciting the words to close the portal, a hand of some sort of creature, I believe did its head come out too? Did we actually see the creature?
You never saw the head. All you saw was a set of smoldering red eyes.
Smoldering red eyes. And a hand lashed out at our companion, almost pulling him into the portal. But he managed to pull away just as we finished reciting the incantation to close it.
You can see as this tale has gone on, his seed kind of turned up. Really, you did all of that as well? Why are the bards not singing of this tale? I mean, I can understand why to defeat Shagra is one thing, but it's also just as interesting.
I don't think the elves much like speaking of it.
Nonsense! I will have the bards work up a song, a tale of this. Wish all the land to know that the champions of Caliceri defeated not one enemy of a god, but also the cults of a long-dead god who almost overthrew the city themselves. I'll make sure that the bards sing of it across all corners of Nanon.
It's just what's most scary about it is how close they came to succeeding.
Melfi chimes in. Well, that's what happens whenever you leave dangerous arcane studies and the heart of your infrastructure in the very keep where the Empress sleeps and all business is conducted to conduct magical arcane experiments. Keeping creatures, the plane of pandemonium, experimenting on elementals inside your own keep. They might ruin upon themselves. You can see at that point, the first movement you've really seen from him, you see Orver gives a slight nod to that.
A nod to the telling of that tale.
To what she just said,
Okay.
that they might ruin upon themselves. So she give you a slight nod to that.
I'm in agreement in that regard. If there's one thing that I've learned about Kelisari from this attack and this fight, that all the dealings that we've seen is just how fickle the Temple of Ara can truly be in protection of the city. Without it, things can become quite dangerous.
The Temple of Ara, yes, it's in Melfi. There is some, there are some documents about the magical achievement that Vidania managed to achieve in creating that Makra, of course, and then an enchantment across the city. It is both a blessing and a sign of their curse, the fact that it does in fact help protect the people of their city, but it also shows the lackadaisical nature of their guard to allow such magics to be used wantonly against their citizens should it not exist. So while there is merit in the protection that it offers, I believe that the elves would do better to educate their people, to train them to not use such magics against their own kin. But that is merely my opinion. You can see on that one, there's kind of a wall. No one really seems to, amongst the council, seems to really bring forward anything else in the conversation. You can see people kind of eat for a minute. Hasid kind of clears his throat. So I mentioned before the arena. I wasn't sure if it would be something that you would be interested in competing with, yourselves being such honored combatants and fabled amongst the lands, but yes, we are in preparation for the Festival of Reincarnation. On the last day of the festival, we always have games in. Sorry, I forgot the name of it. We always have a competition during the festival on the final day, Honor's Trial. That's the arena of this city. It's the whole festival is all in the belief that every season, every winter, winter is so symbolic of death. The belief is that if the festival is held in such a high, reaches such a point that everyone is so pleased and enjoys the festival to such a point that it will bring forth a bountiful next year when life is reincarnated, that we pass through the harsh winter into the spring and once again prepare ourselves for a year and a half of good life to live. So the festival will begin here shortly, actually. Celebrations should be starting tomorrow, and it will be in full swing for 2 days from now for the festival, for the games, the day before the final day of the season. If you wish to compete, I'm sure that I can manage to arrange a position for you and your companions. It will be a late entry, but I don't think that they would deny my request. And if not, you'll be more than welcome to watch with me from the side and enjoy the competition. Although I would love to see you and your companions put your fabled work against the mettle of our finest champions.
Team combat or one-on-one? Or
Teams?
both?
Teams of 6.
Convenient.
I
6
know.
that enter the arena. Unfortunately, that means that your wolf companion won't be able to walk in amongst you. If you can summon her in the span before the fight starts, then you would be welcome to. Within the rules of competition, you would be able to summon her, but you only have.
I can't enter with her.
Cannot enter with her. Correct. There is nothing that stops the conjuring of elementals or beasts, but you have 30 seconds before the fight starts from the moment you enter in, and then you take your places in the arena, and then the fight begins.
Where is Monet right now?
You can see she is sitting kind of at the one end of the table. There's kind of a
The Golden Lucky Edition.
there's essentially a they kind of brought out a slightly raised like half platform that's kind of like sitting next to where it is, as if there is. It looks kind of like where you kind of recognize that it's the platform that his chair was sitting on in his throne room. That it's essentially just like essentially almost like a pallet, almost, but like is slightly ornate in make. But it is just something to give elevation, and you can see that Lunae is sitting like you're sitting at the end of the table. She's sitting just kind of right next to you, just like eating at the food that is kind of placed before her.
Okay.
And you can see during this point in the conversation that she's kind of lifted her head and is just listening. She just kind of goes back to her food as well.
You know, some of us have actually been arena champions before in the city of Sigil Star, I believe it was. Was it Sigil Star?
Yeah, it's just-
Sigil Star, we won the tournament there, beat their champion. So competing in the arena is really nothing new for us. So I think we'd be
Wonderful. I'm interested to see how you'll fare. We've had champions that have bested the. Things not working. We have, I believe that the champions from last year's Sovereign's Day will be entering. They were quite skilled. So I'm interested to see how you fare against them. But
Intriguing.
Are they here now?
they are not here. They prefer. They have denied invitation to the court. I don't blame them for it. They're an odd rabble. Prefer wine and women as opposed to stuffy courts of merchants and aristocrats. Can't say I blame them. And you can just see, again, Cowron is just kind of shakes his head.
Is one of them named Kanye?
Stop. I didn't realize what you were talking about, but so yeah, I mean, like the conversation kind of continues. You guys are more than welcome to bring up any conversation you want, but you guys know now at this point that if you guys so desire, you can be allotted a position in the arena in.
Is that the single events in this arena? 6-on-6 combat?
It is 6-on-6 combat. Yeah.
And can I'd like to ask the king, what sort of prize is there? Is there a prize for winning?
The prize for winning is 30,000 gold pieces for the teams that win, as well as 5,000 for the team that places in second.
And how many teams are competing, to your knowledge, so far?
I don't know for certain. I know that last year's festival, we had 12 teams that entered. It's a long day. It's all the competition is held over the course of one day, and the rules of the arena, you're allotted 1 potion per person on your team, as well as no outside help, no outside casting. There is no. Well, you are allowed casting within your team, but there is no seeking the help of the clerics that man the arena. They are only there to help heal up those that are defeated or those that flirt with death at that point in the arena. But
Just win by knockouts, I'm assuming.
yes, there are enchantments that are placed around the arena to help prevent those that are, to avoid killing. It has happened in the past, but it does not suit the crowd. They wish only to see good sport and fine competition.
Is there any other? You said it's a day of games. Is the arena the only games that are around, or is there other things?
There is jousting, there is other competitions that are held, but the arena is what truly matters that day. And if you're competing, you do best to save your strength. I would not underestimate the other teams that compete. As I said, if there are as many teams as what I said before, that's 4 fights that you would potentially have to go through.
Well, if the arena is the grandest stage, then that's the stage I want to be on.
Indeed, that's what I like to hear. I want to see it. I want to understand what Shauber was up against in his final moments.
I'm particularly curious if any of the council partake in any games throughout the festival.
And you can see Cowren. Cowren kind of gives a smile and looks around to everyone else. I competed when I was younger, but I'm a little too old to be competing at this point. When I was younger, before I left to go east, some of my companions and I competed. We never won, but it was always just nice to see where we stood against the other champions of the city. Amongst everyone else, aside from Order, I don't think any of them would really know which end of the sword you're supposed to hit them with. And you can you hear CSC kind of laugh at that. Malleus kind of shrugs and says, I prefer most of my dealings in combat to be not on a stage in front of everyone to see.
So who said
Malleus, the and Melfian and Garrick kind of gets a look of disgust over the implication that he might be competing in these games.
He reserves his might for the judging competitions.
No, that's not. That's Garrick, the elf.
Oh, Garrett.
Yeah, no, or no. Nothing.
There's just there's a competition where they have like people walk in and there's like 3 guys lined up and they make judgments on the people that walk in. And that's just
There's just a crowd of people and he just walks around silently. Just points to one and they win. That's it. It's a very exciting competition. But no. And then Melfian, the old half elf, doesn't. He doesn't wish he would have competed either.
Oh, between you and me, I believe that Orville would best a 6-man team by himself. He seems. And I just.
And you see his seed kind of laughs, and you can just see Cowren kind of gets this look almost like ooh, on his face. And he says, Orver besting a team of 6. That would be something interesting to see, wouldn't it be, Orver? And he just turns and just looks to him. No. It wouldn't be. He reaches down and takes a sip of his water and puts it back down.
Murder them all.
And he just, and as he laughs, Orver, I'll never understand you. Yeah. And anyways, yes, Orver. Whenever my great-grandfather saw in you, he was right. Take your tasks quite seriously. You can't have a lighten up. You won't have it. Just have one sip of ale, please. No. No, I won't. Reaches out and takes a sip of his water. All right, so be it. So, I see. So, you defeated the champion of a god. You've defeated the cult of a dead god. Are there other tales of the great things you seem to have done? How long have you been traveling together? To have accomplished so much together.
How long have you been traveling together?
Since last Sovereign's
I
Day.
think it's been like 4 or 5.
Last Canadian Thanksgiving. Yeah. Right, boys?
Yeah, it was.
Um,
We left Talon on Sovereign's Day, or
Not
for
long after Sovereign's Day.
Yeah.
So you guys have been together for 3 months, and then a whole. So you guys have been together for about, at least you three have been together for about 9 months. And then I have it in here. It's shorter time. Obviously, you've been around a little bit longer than Sindal was, but yes. But about 9 months.
The 3 of us have been together for going on 9 months now. The other companions joined us along the road. We've lost friends, but gained other ones. We have done. We've had other feats, but nothing as exciting as the things that happened in Calisari.
Hag Coven almost turned into another portal to hell, but it's pretty alright.
A hag coven. And you can see Nelphine as well kind of turns and gives you a curious look. You dealt with a hag coven?
It was quite a strange turn of events. We actually went to a town to look up a bounty, and it turns out that this small town was under an old curse set by a jilted hag who just was stealing the children of this town.
9 months, you all have accomplished so much.
Oh, and there was that one time with that Quaggoth.
Quaggoth. The Quaggoth doesn't seem too impressive anymore since the Behir.
Yeah, true.
And you just see this like this look of amazement is just crossing the king's face. It's just like there's like a gold mine. There's a gold mine of stories to be told here. I feel like I can sit and drink and hear tales of this all night.
You enjoy novels. We should write a book.
Yes, I do enjoy reading a good novel.
And remember, there's
Adventure.
celestial creatures too.
Fiction.
They are my favorite tales to read. To hear the tales of old, to hear of adventurers dealing with the trials and tribulations of these lands, to see an overwhelming darkness come along and they succeed and manage to save the land so they can return back to the way they were before. Both fiction and historical, I enjoy both. Yourself, do you enjoy to read?
I wouldn't say I'm an avid reader, but I do enjoy a tale or two myself. Would I know anything about, like, any legend of him? His own personal achievements or accomplishments as far as adventures or...
Roll a
or
history
something.
check.
History?
Yeah.
I don't like this at all. I'm not liking it.
I will say being from Hothane, I will give you advantage on it.
I hate everything. This is gonna be a bad roll. Yep, it's a bad roll. Advantage?
Yeah.
Cool.
It's not too bad of a roll.
18.
Not bad, though.
So,
Really? Just
for Prophecy, you don't know too many tales of feats of his valor. You know that the story of his coming to be king,
Yeah, his like reputation.
he is liked among the people. he goes out and he spends lots of time with the people. He is a very public-facing king. But in terms of things that he has done, he is like in his early 20s. He is very young. You know that the story of it is that in like the southwest, there was southwest of Nark, there was a rebellion called the Silverbane Rebellion that his father, King Bali, had been slain during, and he became king at that point because he was the only son at that time, which so he assumed the role of king at a very young age, and there has not been a ton of warring conflict that would have drawn him to achieve such valor. And you kind of get the implication from like the feeling of like the rest of the council that he is doted over by the council, that he still and you kind of get the feeling from it as well as so talking to him. He still is young. He has not like become an adult. Yeah, exactly.
How long ago was that rebellion? Would I know that?
About 25 years ago.
So he was very young.
He was essentially an infant when he became king.
Okay, so I'm assuming there was a steward in place until he became of age or of some sorts.
It's the role of the council
Okay.
to oversee the king that he is raised to become king.
Well, I didn't want to insult him, but by inquiring as to his adventures
Right.
before that. So, but yes, I do enjoy to read here and there when I get a chance. A good tale is a good tale.
Indeed, it is. Sir, anything else you guys wish to speak over the course of dinner? Speak about?
I think so.
We never mentioned the eye.
I was gonna throw it out there, but I wasn't sure if we were intentionally not mentioning it.
Mm-mm.
We don't know yet. Or you don't know yet.
I know.
Are we whispering this?
That was table talk. I knew that was table talk.
I was gonna say, like, didn't he have that eye too? And then just see where the conversation went. What eye? This one.
I mean,
But
out of character,
Lily, how'd you get
we're
that?
no real obligation to keep that secret. It's whatever. It's out of our hands now.
Oh, I mean, there's a lot of people here.
So the dinner continues. It gets to the point where the eating part of the meal is kind of done, and people are kind of starting to get up and walk around and talk a little bit. You can see that there are people that are coming up, and over the course of dinner was happening as well, that people were coming up and exchanging pleasantries with Hasid, and over the course of, as it kind of spreads out and becomes a little less formal, Caloran does come and approach you, you and your group at one point, and inquires about, just to hear, like, just inquiring about stories about Jeremiah, kind of like what was he like? What was he like? Like, was he
Had a weapon for every occasion.
Forever be known as a brawler boy too. Brawler boys for love.
What tales would you tell of Jeremiah?
What did he do that was really cool?
He became a brawler boy,
Look at me, man.
and he also
I just saw him die.
his act of
Yeah,
sacrifice right before he died.
Ooh.
The story of us winning the arena and Sizzle Star, perhaps. Probably tell a little bit about the hag stuff with venturing down into the Understrait's gallows.
And there was this other guy named Vay.
Stood toe to toe with a werewolf.
Yeah, that too. I forgot about
I
that.
was
Wow.
infected by a werewolf.
forgot about that.
It hurt.
Whatever happened to that guy?
It hurt
I
bad.
bashed that guy over the train.
It hurt a lot.
Those are the days when we just didn't follow any of the story threads Cody set up because
Not a single one.
I was trying every
I
single
know
time.
you did. But
There
We
were
had a
too many
certain,
things.
we had a certain blue
We had too many strings. Like
creature with us.
this
It's
is-
just, there's no money in that. No.
There was money and like everything.
Those threads are still
Um,
left there dangling.
he asks about, I think at one point, did Jeremiah ever speak of any, speak of his mother or his family? Did he have any other friends? Other people that might, I feel so disconnected. I just want to be able to talk to anyone that knew him, just to be able to hear more about him.
We didn't speak of his family. He just always, he always included his title from Lothwell. He seemed to have pride in his home, but he didn't tell us. We didn't have time. We weren't with him long enough, I think. He didn't tell us a lot of stories of his life. I think he was always seeking glory, seeking adventure.
Sounds familiar. And he kind of takes a glass and kind of like a bittersweet smile almost to the memory of Jeremiah.
Can I see if he's hiding anything?
Make an insight check.
Let me see. I want to see. Natural one.
Blinks glasses. Takes it. Actually, in the case that you roll a natural one, roll a deception check.
14 plus
Okay.
something.
You glean nothing. But he kind of clicks glasses and takes a long drink from the glass. And the night kind of continues. Again, it's a little bit more formal, or it's a little less formal. Over the course of the night, is there anything else that you guys, any people that you wish to talk about, or talk about? And also, are you guys competing in the arena?
Is there anyone that doesn't want to compete in the arena?
It's in the next starts tomorrow. Festival.
Not tomorrow. Not tomorrow.
Well, the
There's-
festival starts tomorrow.
The festival starts tomorrow. The arena is
The
the
day
next day, and then the day after that is the final day of fall before winter.
Of course, I would compete.
I would
like to.
assume that we're going to compete.
It sounds fun.
We have no other ties. We discussed this before. We have no other.
We can show this good king here, you know.
Competing in combat without fear of death seems like a nice fun time.
But we
Nice
have to
breath
really
of fresh.
It'd be
So
nice
we're
to be
gonna
the
go instead of
champions
just,
of
you know,
another city.
bullshitting on a table.
Well, if the
Korak kind of chimes in. Makes it a little
City
less
number
fun.
3.
if any of the
To
wizards
the
are,
nickname list.
if any of the wizards are as powerful as me, death is a possibility.
Not with the power of light on our side.
I think he
No,
said that there was.
certainly,
I think he said there was.
certainly. If I
He said that there's wizards or clerics to help with those who flirt with
He
death.
said there was enchantments on the building, didn't he?
He said that there are enchantments and there are clerics on standby to help deal with that, but there is always the chance of death.
yes,
So that is something that can happen.
I can-
But there are things in place to help prevent that.
well, I simply speak for myself. Accidents can happen in any magic use, but with their protection, I'm sure there's
30,000 pieces
couldn't
of
be,
gold.
couldn't be a problem. Yes, I believe 30,000 pieces of gold sounds like a lot of fun.
Even 5,000 in second place is a pretty decent chunk of money.
But if we win, we all get 5,000.
Lily,
Lily,
What-
please.
Lily,
Just think of all the magic items we can buy.
Lily, what would you do with all that gold?
Are you even wearing your
I'm gonna
boots right
obviously invest it.
Oh, invest?
Completely covered in tattoos by that point.
Investing in new technology.
I'm gonna buy property and then rent it out and settle down as a landlord.
It's free real
And thus
estate.
Lily is written out of the campaign.
Other than just a 15-year-old landlord.
At some point, Lily, we might need to do some research on that.
It was my backstory. I just
The
wanted to become
growing-
a famous landowner.
The enchanted ink for your growing tattoo
That's not gonna happen.
of slain enemies
A
across
leaf,
your
a
arms.
new
not going
tea
to
growing for each blade.
I'm gonna start my own guild. That's what I need the money for. All right.
That's right, the guilds.
Yeah.
Forgot about that.
Oh, yes, there was,
Anyway, yes.
I remember there was.
Well, no,
We're
this
competing.
was just more of a. I, as the DM, I was asking you guys. I'm assuming that would be a discussion you would have amongst yourselves, and
Of course.
on telling the king that. You can see there's just like this, like almost like giddy excitement. I'm very interested to see how well you fare against our champions.
Let's sleep through tomorrow so that we get straight to the competition.
I can do it.
Oh, I know you can.
Fenrir is already nodding off.
Listen, Fenrir doesn't just fall asleep. It's once he falls
I don't have
asleep that he's
narcolepsy, guys. I just like to sleep once I'm asleep.
dead. He's kind of almost like you are in real life, where it's like you'll be awake, and then you fall asleep and you're just dead to the world.
Dead to the world.
I have stubeitis.
Stubeitis.
But anything else? Anyone else you wish to speak to?
King Hasid, do you have a particular favorite? Hopefully, we would be your favorite to win.
I have yet to see all of you in battle, so I can't grant you my favor in the hopes that you'll win. I hope to see you make it all the way to the finals at the very least. And I would give you a name of who I truly think will win, but I don't want you to have an idea of who it will be. You have a whole day of running rampant in the festival. If you know who I favor, you'll do research to figure out who it is. And I don't want you to have that advantage.
Is there gambling involved?
Yes.
There is heavy gambling involved, of course.
That's what all our future winnings on this
Let's
betting.
put all of the gold we got in the mine down.
Well, what are the odds? What are the odds for us?
7 to 1.
Well, there's no odds we haven't even technically entered yet.
Yes, it will be difficult to tell. There will be an evaluation of you and your companions by the guards of Duldorn's temple for them to watch over and see what they think your odds of winning are, and then your odds will be placed.
In any case, I greatly value your intrigue put into the other competitors. I'm very curious to see who we might face in the finals once we
Yes,
reach
there are many names that have entered in the festival's past. It's difficult to say who will be in town for this competition, as well as it's one of our honored traditions here that in between the fights, you and your companions will not be allowed to watch the other games, to watch the other fights. That you will have no inkling as to exactly what you're up against. Will be on during that 30-second window before the games begin. That you will have to evaluate and make up your strategy. You may have strategy going into it, but no plan survives contact with the enemy. So
How
it happened
long?
many times in the arena.
How long between battles? Average.
You will be given time to rest. There's at least an hour between any fight that you compete in between your next fight. You will be given time to recuperate and regain your strength. But there will be no time to rest. There will be no time to sleep for your wizards and clerics and bards to regain your spells. Druids as well. I mean, not to offend Lily.
I have my
Fenrir as well.
Where is that?
You sometimes forget
Listen.
he has the ability to cast spells.
I can
He's
cast
just so
spells.
I
busy.
forget that you can cast spells because I just assume you always divine smite, and I just think of it as just standard extra damage.
That is what I do.
His weapon's just divine.
All
smite.
these cards
My
are
special
they
attack.
just kind of stay there
Fender slash.
in case of
They might as well
emergency.
just still be sealed in box.
His unknown
Um,
god is actually just himself. Like it's his future self giving him blessings.
That's fair.
Was that
I
something you
mean,
said?
I'm worthy.
Okay. I wanted to make sure.
They make a shirt of Fenrir.
Kune is just like, how
in
did
the
you know
style of like Sam's shirt.
No, I mean he told the group
Shirtception.
about that.
about the god thing.
About that he doesn't know who
Yeah.
God is. I was asking for the curiosity of the other people at the table. Is why I was asking.
Yeah.
But no, if it's not something you said out loud.
Yeah. I don't think we were
Does
here
it
today.
even? Okay. Anything else? I know who you want to talk to.
I want to see if he's. I just want to feel him out. See if he even wants to talk.
Make an insight check.
That is 20. Unnatural.
So I mean, you've seen people come up and talk to him, and he offers conversation back. But it's not out of annoyance or anything of him like wanting to cut people off. But it's like having a conversation with somebody where the other person doesn't pitch anything back to keep the conversation going. He answers questions that are asked of him, but he
But
doesn't. He's not. It's not
it
like
stops at
yeah.
the
It's
answer.
like it's like a, hey, how's it going? The normal response is good. How are you? He just says
Good.
good.
It's like a person who's trying to leave the room, but somebody's talking to
It's
them.
like an awkward date.
That's what it's more like. That it's just someone that is just there and doesn't. They're not pitching back the conversation. So he's not stopping you, and he's not stopping people from talking to him. There are people that are coming up and having like 5-minute conversations with him, but he does nothing to prolong that conversation. He is not firing questions back. He's not inquiring about you or anyone else. But
Alright.
so he is amenable to conversation. If you want to go up and just talk to him, ask questions, whatever else.
Yeah, I'd like to go up to him and see if I can coerce any further conversation from him. I'll just go up to him and say, "Hello, I'm Fenrir. We've never formally been introduced, but
Hello, Fenrir. My name is Oliver Thundermaw. I'm the Master of Judgment, as you know.
yes, I tried my best to emulate your amazing appearance."
Just looks at you.
Judging how well the job you did.
Awkward date. Love it.
Done poorly.
Well, I was wondering where you're
Hair's
from.
all
I don't
wrong.
run across many dwarves, and I don't know many of my kind. I was wondering where you are from.
I was born and raised here in Nark.
Your parents?
They were from Thermaldur before, but they settled here in Nark. Not me. I never saw the city as it was, and I've never seen it as it is. Never left the city walls. I've lived here my entire life.
And your parents are no
Dead.
longer with us? Did they ever speak of their home?
They spoke of it sometimes. They enjoyed it. Never too detailed. It was a very long time ago.
Well, I've been told that is where my family is also from. At least my father's side. And I'm quite anxious to find out try to find out what is going on over there.
That is not Thermaldur, that is Kar Thor. Thermaldur is the
The other
old
one.
name of Drexel.
Shit. That RP.
He's judging
Don't
you
even
hard
worry
enough.
about
Oh yeah.
Fucking backstory.
He's really judging.
Did your parents fight against the Dorgar?
No. No, my parents were here long before that.
Well, that just kind of ruined my whole reason to talk to you, but thank you for your time.
Gives you a nod. Takes water. Continues to stare at you. Okay. Then you walk away.
I thought that was understood.
Okay.
That was a totally awkward date.
I'm good at this.
So, do you come here often? It's a nice jacket. Where did you
It's
get it?
really weird how, like, when I do RP, I actually feel that embarrassment. Like, I felt like I was literally having an awkward date at that point. It's really great.
What does that be? Anything else?
I'd like to speak to Malcolm.
Sure.
Well, did we tell you about the time you killed the actor?
Well, Melvin, I do expect to see you at some point as curator. I will be there. I understand that I might not be granted the same level of access or what I might expect in Kilsari as far as books and reading is concerned.
No. There will be no limitation of access. It will just merely be that one of our curators will watch over what you are studying, what you are researching. And if the things you are researching are unsavory in connection with one another, then you will be escorted from the premises of the Citadel. However, you will be given warning, and they will naturally question the things you research and what your curiosity is that has led you to read these things, but it would be in bad taste to deny access to the Arcane Citadel from guests of our king.
Well, certainly, I actually enjoy having a curator there with me. It creates a level of conversation about the books that I'm reading or researching on. And, well,
Is there anything in particular that you're curious of researching? If you don't mind my asking.
well, we have come across some interest in some of the, I should say, older or deceased or lost gods. We are curious about Bahamut.
Bahamut. And you can see like a look of almost like questioning disgust kind of come across her face. What do you wish to know of the old betrayer, the one who caused the slide of the old gods into the declined state that they're in now?
Well, I suppose this might interest you as well in that regard. We have found a somehow sort of connection to Arion, in a sense, and believe, as well as Bahamut. And it's something I'm very curious to look into and read about.
I know no connection between Bahamut and the Weave. Coralon before the sovereign host and the Dark Six came to be that Coralon watched over the Weave during the First Age, but after he was killed by the Platinum Betrayer, Arion took control over it. I'm not sure what you'll find, but you're more than welcome to go about. There are many scriptures that I myself have not read.
Well, I'm certain that you could simply tell us verbatim what all of the things that you've read say, but that is, of course, why myself being a person of study, want to read for myself and go through and understand it on my own accord, my own time. But that is, of course, why I prefer having a curator with me for the discussion and learning process.
They will be able to help assist you in trying to find whatever it is that you may be looking for.
So long as you see, that is something that interests me. Is Oh, well, you might find disgust in Bahamut and whatever I might be reading about with him. I do not want to be improperly judged for reading about Bahamut. If I'd seek to find a connection to a more savory.
I apologize for my look of if the look I gave made you think one way or another. There is no problem in researching Bahamut as long as it is understood that for all of the virtues that he stood for, he betrayed his greatest allies in the most pivotal moments.
Certainly, I completely agree.
Is there anything else that you wish to be that you were looking to research aside from the old dragon gods, or is that merely that and curiosity?
Well, I may delve into some other smaller bits that we've come across.
It's fine.
Random. We've come across simple temples that we've walked through, desecrated old. Curiosity sparks us.
There are many temples that were lost after the end of the First and Second Age. The Culling War caused many of the old temples to fall into disuse, as well as they themselves were purged from the earth if they were those of the betrayers, as well as after the rupture, much of the continent, much of history was lost. But if there's anything that can be found there, you're more than welcome to read after it, as long as you remain within the confines of what you're allowed to be reading, so that you do not stray. Anything else?
Did we ever learn what Nalius's job was?
Malleus?
As the advisors.
Malleus, Master of Secrets.
So is it Malleus?
Malleus.
No, I thought I ever known the name.
Malleus. Maleus.
I'll talk to her. I kind of look and I say, so Malleus writes, the Master of Secrets.
That's correct.
What's that's it's an interesting job. What does it entail?
It's a secret. No, I'm kidding. No, I am merely a broker of information here in the city. I have many ears and many birds that stretch across the continent. It's my job to know anything and everything that's happening, and to keep the king informed so that he can make informed decisions. If he makes a poor one, that looks badly on me.
Interesting. So, you're sort of the person who always knows what's going on. That's...
Not always. I pride myself on being the first person to know most things. I was able to find you and your friends after being in the city for only a day after heading north for some reason. I won't inquire. It's not particularly my business unless you wish to tell me. I'm always curious to know why people are coming and going, but...
We had a job. That's pretty much
fair enough.
what it was.
Secrets are precious after all. But yes,
The gossip is delicious.
Hmm?
The gossip is delicious.
it is indeed. It's my favorite meal.
We're gonna get along.
She just kind of gives you just like a quick smile, like a little, and like a wink.
Oh, but you've never seen like much of a gossiper. You and I have really missed out on this connection.
Can I insight check to see if Zarn's trying to have sex with her?
Well, you don't really need an insight for that. The answer is
Well, it's Lily. It's Lily, so it's different.
But Zorn.
Hold on.
Wait, what does she look like, first of all, before I talk to her?
She's a red.
I'm just kidding.
She's a.
Oh,
she's
you're
a.
fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I
That
get
was
it.
that. That was that.
Literally,
Her up. Wait,
literally
what's
when
she
you
look
gave
like?
the description every other week, all I wrote down was Nalius, tiefling, hot.
So
that is the initial impression that you get from seeing her.
I have red skin, female, white hair, and skinny dress. I have a
Skinny
pretty
dress.
fair assessment.
Well, yeah,
Skinny
all
dress
of her
is
dresses
tight.
apparently they're very flaunted and
Very.
accentuated.
She says at one point, that was quite the tale that you spun for Hasid about Shagra, 30 feet tall. Something about his voice.
Well,
I heard other rumors. I heard a little bit more about the truth, what he is, but I heard
like you said, there's money in secrets.
indeed.
But
I heard whispers of something else about him that allowed him to bend the will of orcs. Do you know anything of this?
Do we know if, out of character, are we keeping this a secret? We didn't agree.
We never discussed anything.
We never
about
really
that.
discussed on whether or not
And there was never any real agreements.
it's
Honestly, it's totally up in the air.
like
Okay.
out. We pretty much had discussed that it was meant to be a secret because we didn't know what the fuck to do with it, and we didn't know whether not to give it to.
There was also a matter of the fact that it is an incredibly powerful artifact that
Can't be destroyed.
that can't be destroyed, and the people outside of that room don't know it exists.
Okay. Continue.
So
what did she say? She said
she said that she's heard whispers that there was something else about him that allowed him to bend the will of these orcs to force them to bend knee to him. Do you know anything of this?
well, something said to somebody gets passed on from person to person. Sometimes elements are added to the story, elements are forgotten. It's what we bards do, actually, which is the 30 feet tall thing. I mean,
Yes, but for
that is sort of my job.
every tall tale that comes from a bard's lips, there's always a kernel of truth in it, isn't there?
Indeed.
If you don't know, then you don't know. I figured the people that killed him would have figured something out about him, but either way.
Use Corax.
just snatch it.
Are you two sitting separate, or like? Because I know we kind of jumped in on that one, but I don't. Am I listening then?
This is just all kind of happening over the course of the night, so if you wish to be in the conversation, unless you specifically tell me I want to pull them aside and have a private conversation,
I didn't.
I just assume that it's kind of like if you see them talking, you can walk up.
I want to. Can I get a gauge on her intentions in that conversation?
Sure, make an insight check.
Something kind of sketchy about her. 15.
15.
Just judging her by the way she looks.
She's a pretty hard read. The arrogance and the fake, not fake, but like the smile, the perpetual smile and the levity in her voice never seems to waver. It's very hard to get a real read on her.
Okay.
But is there anything else that you wish to talk to her about?
Actually, I noticed the clothes that you wear are very fancy. Where do you get them from?
I have all of my clothing tailor-made in order to get it to have the right effect, which it seems to already have worked on YouTube for you to have noticed. But you can't get clothing that fits this well in a shop.
That's why I was asking. Do you have a specific tailor that you go to?
I have
Arian.
my tailor.
A personal tailor. I want to be a master of secrets.
It does have its benefits.
Well, if you ever looking to retire, maybe look me up.
I think it'll be quite some time, but you are a half elf.
Half elf. We live.
I think
Clear
he
for
meant
quite some time.
Retire for the night.
Did you just what?
That was not a good.
My reaction would be very different. Just
Rex,
what he said.
That's so beautiful. I wonder how easy
Uh,
it is to
okay.
take off.
I was not anywhere near that conversation.
Okay, no, I just I wanted to make
Fenrir,
sure.
the master of cockblock.
That's actually what he was saying to Oravir. He wants to retire with Oravir.
When he becomes a god, he's just the god of cockblock.
Yeah, I'm not cockblock
That's his
myself
god.
with my own dwarf guy, and
He's just
gonna
you
keep
cockblock
spreading.
yourself from friendships.
Yeah.
That's his god. It's the god of cockblocking.
It's just this like really
I
douchey
just
bro.
talk, and I'm like, hey, the stuff that comes out of my mouth is just nonsense.
It's just like a dude bro in a snapback cap. Just
Proceed.
Oh God! All right, moving past this.
Vape.
Is there anything else? Anyone else you guys wish to converse with before the night just continues on into drinking and celebration, as well as you guys knowingly will be preparing for a festival tomorrow, as well as competition the following day.
We've talked to everybody at this point, other than Fancy Elf.
All right. So you guys continue on. The night goes. It goes well into the night. There are people that seem to have a never-ending desire to continue to eat and drink the free food of the king. But you guys eventually, having your nights fill, you make your way out of the keep, either by yourselves or all together, and eventually make your way back to the across the city to the Left Pumpkin Inn.
Those
Fine.
people ravenously eating the free food of the king made me think of Jeremiah, and I got sad.
But eventually finding yourselves fitfully both intoxicated and full from good food. Sleep finds all of you, and with that, we are going to go ahead and take a break. We'll be back in a few minutes. Hope you guys are enjoying. If you do, I did never open up the chat because I'm an idiot, so I don't know anything that's been said. If you guys like it, give us a follow. Otherwise, feel free to just send us a message. We haven't opened up to anyone, so send us something if you like it. Send us something if you don't. Tell us why. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Flat Earthers? Oh,
they were
my
stupid.
favorite.
That one was
We're
great.
back.
I love that one.
God.
The Earthers. You missed the
I had to
beginning.
eat it for what you said. We're back. So, all of you have made your way back to the left Pumpkin Inn.
It's a testicle joke.
Is there anything you guys wish to do once you get back to
Tis
back to your rooms before you guys go to sleep, or you guys just go to sleep and get ready for the festival next time?
Sleep. I don't know.
Well, I guess we'll. Do you want to change out of all of our fancy clothes now that we're back at the inn? And have another beverage at the bar?
That was a solid crunch.
Or are we all just gonna go to bed now? I actually had a question for the rest of you.
Yes? What's
You
on
just
your
asked
mind?
us like 5 questions, but go ahead.
Could you cast a nightmare on him?
Sorry?
Never mind.
I can. No, I
I
still.
don't need to change out of my dress to go have a drink at the bar
I have a-
downstairs.
I have a lot of
You guys-
spells left. Which one do you want me to?
Were we like the people rolling it, like high rolling at the fucking
Yeah, you guys.
dive bar?
Yeah, as you guys are coming
Yeah, like after a wedding when you go to a bar.
It's pretty late into the night. You can see that there is not a big crowd, but there are a number of people that seem to be.
People counting
Um,
they came from a wedding.
Yeah, exactly. But you can see that it's all the people that are. It looks as if there are a lot of people that are getting ready to be celebrating a festival tomorrow. They're getting ready for it tonight. And as you guys kind of walk in, you see that there is a decent number, like 20, 25 people in the bar area whenever you guys walk in. And you can see Granville, the old gnome who's in charge of the bar, kind of waves to you guys. You can see that he's already in the process of still talking to everyone. You can see that he's not serving, he's just entertaining and talking to people, and all the rest of his staff seem to be continuing to run the bar around you guys. But you guys find yourselves to a table or up at the bar, whichever you prefer. Drinks are brought over.
Well, we were dancing around it a lot in the conversation about the. I just start looking around for anybody who might be listening in on our conversation.
Make a perception check with disadvantage.
Yeah.
You're sweating right now, man.
That's why it's with disadvantage.
14.
14. Take a moment to kind of look around. You don't see anyone that's particularly like listening in or like watching what you guys are doing. But
It's
Yeah.
it's a pretty crowded bar.
it's perhaps something we shouldn't really. We should probably shouldn't let people know about it. It's dangerous. I mean, it seems better that the fewer people that know about it, the better.
I wanted to keep it in the bag of holding. I didn't realize the bag of holding could be flipped inside out. I never knew that about that. What a terrible idea.
That's dangerous too.
It was a horrible idea.
Why don't we just put everything in a bag of holding?
Because it's easy and you can just throw it in. You
We
just
should
hand
get-
it, you can just hand it to Fenrir and
Yeah, we used to have a bag of holding with a bunch of things in it, and
What's
the guy
this?
that had it just left.
Yeah, we should get a cart.
Didn't even
instead.
say bye, really.
I grab my drink and I go, put it in the bag.
I'm pretty sure it's spilled. You know? Like,
Put it in the bag. Let's find out.
Wait, if you put it in the bag,
Start
will
calling
it spill the other things in the bag? Well, I thought it was like its own. Like, is it all? Is there? When you reach into the bag, you just reach into a big pile in another dimension, or is it like pockets?
I don't know. I've never tried. What's in the bag? Tell me something.
any one thing?
Something in the bag.
Uh,
I put my hand in the bag.
A coin of gold.
I think of a coin of gold.
And as you do, you feel all of a sudden your fingers kind of reaching out. Your fingers close around.
What?
It's gold coins.
It was just air. And then just
But if we dump the.
open it up. And I just fling it to try to throw it back into the
I'm
bag.
curious.
Make
Maybe
a sleight of hand check.
Yeah. 4 plus 7 total.
I would like to make a sleight of hand check. To
Yeah,
see if I
go
can
ahead.
dive.
If you drop the bag, it's gonna
So
spill out.
13.
13. He kind of throws it, and it's one of those things where he just like he didn't he like goes
It's
at the
like
wrong
the
time, and you just and just to catch it. And it's in
I
the
got
bag.
it.
Yeah.
Ah.
At any rate,
If we were to dump a drink into the bag of holding, would
No, I
it get
mean-
the other things in the bag of holding wet?
no, I mean the whole mug with the drink.
I would assume
Just
so.
set it down.
I mean,
What would happen?
Would the liquid stay in it?
I don't know.
We're the
I
science
don't
team
believe
again.
so.
Bartender, a round of drinks.
If we put
We have
a
science
snail,
You see one of the waiters brings over.
But at any rate,
if we drown
when
a
it comes to
polymorph
this particular
creature, does it
artifact-
die as the polymorph creature?
You just hear Lune let out this low growl as he looks at you.
I do agree, we probably should not be just spreading that information around. However, if we are pressed for it, I don't see any reason to lie.
To people that we think we can trust, I wouldn't just willy-nilly throw it around. We should agree on that.
True. It's definitely not something to,
Let people know about.
I was going to say give anything up over, but
I don't know. There's just
I mean,
people,
I don't see any good in letting anybody know
I mean,
about
the
it.
people we just dealt with could. The people that we did the mission for, if they knew about it, which they may, but they seem like an organization that could possibly get it. Like, people.
What organization?
The I forget their names.
Order
They just do
Discord.
bad things. No, they don't
Bad
just do bad
things.
things. But I mean, we've already seen what happened there. We don't know if it's safe. That's why we didn't show it to them in the first place. I would have preferred almost they bring it here. But at this point, what are we gonna do?
I tend to meddle in dangerous grounds and waters. It's probably best if we don't have it on our person at all times, or else history could repeat itself.
This place is a city that stood for thousands and thousands of years. I thought perhaps it would be easier. We'd find a better place to store it here.
we have the chance to leave it with celestial beings, but at any
It
rate,
was more
it's all
pressing.
out of our hands.
There's more pressing matters to deal with them.
Wait, where did we leave it? I thought we left it in
We
Kelisari.
left it
The,
closer.
the Empress decided that it was best that it stayed there,
Yeah.
and that was the end of the matter.
You feel that this would be a better place for it, Zara?
I think so. I mean,
For what reasons?
the city was. I mean, Kalasari was just betrayed from within and almost fell.
Just out of fear of corruption.
Yes, and the queen doesn't. She seems like she lets emotional with her a lot. Perhaps it's not. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like the safest place in the world to keep something. I mean, they kept creatures in their keep that escaped and killed people.
At the same time, the keep was contained. If they kept those creatures down in the city and they escaped, it would have murdered all those countless civilians.
But think about those. If they keep it in the keep, and there was no
It is the
betrayal,
most,
like
it was the safest and most secure building in the land. It actually makes perfect sense to me. That's where you keep the highest level of danger.
well, if you think Nilevir could have just. I mean, he seemed to be able to get through the entire place. He could have just taken it and left the keep and had it for himself. Had he not been trying to cast a ritual in there, as it was there. I'm just saying that I just think there's more secure places. We've already had a history of them not particularly being the most secure place in the world. I'm not saying that we should go take it. I'm just saying that I think it would have been safer here.
It's already out of our hands, I think.
It is.
Let them
I
die.
don't think so, though. The chances of there being betrayers over there are essentially the same as they are over here.
It's also a city that was just ravaged by war and is recovering. That could probably cause lapses in security. That's why we're not talking about that being where it is and stuff. I'm telling people.
My biggest concern about the eye was always somebody using it.
Alright, so we don't want anyone to get their hands on it.
Actually, attempting to become an elf attempting to put that eye in, probably kill him. A human would probably have a better chance. Also, the orcs all fled. They're not going to find it. I think it's not going to get used while it's in Kalasari.
Perhaps.
Just my thoughts.
It's probably wearing for nothing, I'm just saying, but I think there could have been better options.
There was a better option. We should have left it with those divine beings when we were in the celestial plane.
We didn't really have much time to talk to them because they were going to kill our companion.
Yes, I was quite
No,
concerned.
we had plenty of time.
We had to leave before they discovered her. We hardly even spoke to them. If we would have gone in with her, they would have killed her.
She surrendered.
It was foolish. It would have been a foolish mistake.
I knew if I was
The
a
foolish mistake was bringing it back with us.
If you care more about the artifact than you do about your companion's lives, then perhaps you're not the person I thought you were.
if I were a
Whoever
Celestial,
said that? Son?
She could have died in there. We had to get her out as quickly as possible.
That doesn't mean we still couldn't have given it to them.
They came.
We still talked with them.
Yes, we talked with them, but it was a moment of we were trying to deceive them. Honestly, we didn't have time to really sit down and discuss things. We were trying to get rid of them. That we had a friend right over the hill that they would have killed.
She still seemed perfectly fine.
Right, because we didn't deal with them for too long. They were the celestial beings. We didn't even know what sort of powers they had.
It was a plane of the divine good, a realm of light.
Right, and they would have killed our friends, so that doesn't seem too light to me.
See Korak reach in and pull his jug out. Wine!
oh, you already used it today. You can't get another one out of it. You'll have to wait till dusk to get another. Don't you?
He reaches over and grabs your glass and dumps it into his jug.
Yes.
It only works once per day.
Yep. That only works every so often.
It's not as impressive now.
That's true.
Granville! L'Oreal! You can see that they bring over a couple more mugs and he just takes both of them and dumps them into his jug and continues to drink from it.
Oh, wine and it'll combine.
I've been drinking all night.
Yeah. On another note, if I was a celestial and a whole bunch of mortals came onto my plane, I wouldn't think twice about killing them. That was my logic. I said leave. I would kill us.
They would not have, and that's why you are not a man of faith.
Well, you didn't speak up while we were there.
Can you guys just stop fighting? We have a competition in 2 days, and here we are arguing with each other.
Yeah, we suck. I would kill us. If I were celestial, I don't know. Who would I kill first?
I'm ready to go.
Oh,
I probably would, honestly, a celestial. If I was a celestial, I'd probably kill you first.
yeah.
Not to even defend.
Well, we're both magic users, so we probably. Yeah.
Fortunately, you didn't have any of your skeletons with you when we were there.
Yes, that would not have went well.
You know what we could probably all use is a good night's sleep.
And you just don't sleep through the tournament.
I can't make any promises. But you just wake me up.
We've tried before.
Well,
No one used an action to wake Fenrir up. Just saying.
guys, it's not.
He's immune
That's
to
not
those.
bonus action worthy. You have to use a full action to wake me up.
You use your whole turn, you move your
He's
Yeah.
resistant against attempts to wake him.
I've got an idea next time. I'll set an alarm. I could set more than one alarm. All around him. Like a band is playing. Drums and flutes.
And then if it
And
wakes
lute.
me up, I'll wake up and start playing with it.
And then
It's a
all
big
the,
glorious symphony.
and
And
it
you
would,
guys
and it would
continue-
sound like a parade.
Can we name the song after me? Can it be Fenrir's Ballad?
This is the Ballad of Sleepy Fenrir.
I like it.
We'll
You
work
just
on it.
hear the Nayla snort, and she just gets up and pushes out and heads towards the stable.
The stable portal then.
So you guys continue to. Oh,
Put the drink in the bag of holding.
Oh, we're really gonna try this?
The whole mug.
No.
The whole
No.
mug.
No.
The mug with the full drink.
No.
I mean,
While they're arguing, I just throw one in the back.
Yeah.
we might as well get to the bottom of this.
also a head check.
No, I pull the bag away before you can do that.
Oh boy.
Competing.
That is a sleight of hand. It's a 21.
Go.
Sleight of hand.
Everything is ruined.
No, that's only 7.
So you as you're kind of sitting there with like the bag like kind of sitting on the table like kind of half open, Zarin, you very quickly just throw the drink into it. You can see that some of the ale kind of sloshes out on the table, disappears into the bag.
Wait, quick, pull something
There.
out. Wait, Lily. 2 gold. But the ale is still in the cup.
Who is the most sober out of all of us right now?
Not Korak. Not Korak. Not Sindal.
I'll bet you 2 gold that
Probably Albert.
everything is wet.
Alright. Albert, you didn't want it in there in the first place, so I nominate you to retrieve it.
I'm not doing this for betting, I'm doing it for science.
Well,
Ale.
of course.
And as you're kind of holding your hand out, you feel it just shunk. You kind of lift your hand up, and you can see it's about half full. For looking around on the table, you kind of guess that whatever sloshed out beforehand, I mean, it still has the ale in it.
Okay.
Pull something else out.
Drop it again.
Pull something else out.
Drop it again real quick. Sorry.
Fair.
How does it taste?
Tastes like ale.
Taste
Zoran,
fine.
Zoran, give
Nothing
me
happens
your
here.
ale.
What else is in the bag?
I already
holding?
threw my ale in the bag.
Someone give me an ale.
This is his ale.
Korak just looks at you with his jug.
What about your ale?
Alright.
Pull something else out of the bag.
I toss mine in.
Oh
Okay, you
god.
throw it in the bag.
Alright. Lune's gone.
She already walked out.
Ah, fuck. Lily. Catch. Throw the bag of holding.
Okay.
Across the table.
Make it's
Let's make a check.
yeah, make a sleight of hand check.
Make a check. Ooh, 8.
Okay, you go to kind of catch it, and it hits on the table, and it kind of slumps and looks like an empty bag, like it always does. You have the bag in front of you.
Okay, open it up.
I run out of the bar. No, I'm just kidding. Alright, I'll open it and I guess get the ale.
Request ale.
Ale.
Ale's full.
What else is in the bag? We should try to pull something else out. I don't know what else. is in the
Sindal.
bag.
You were right.
It's magic.
This enchanted object. Who would have guessed?
Alright, well,
I can do amazing things, but this is by far the most amazing I've ever seen.
well now we know that like gravity apparently doesn't affect it. Really. The things within the bag of holding.
Like the inside of the bag of holding, is it just like sitting on a table in there?
I don't really know how it works.
None of you know.
We should just go in.
No,
What
no,
do you-
no.
You just stick your hand and you just say it and it just comes up.
Yeah, when you reach your hand into the bag, it is like you're reaching out into just open air.
Like just space, like
Mhm.
it's like an open dimension. Okay. And it's just like room.
Well, I mean, that's what it feels like. Like you can go like the whole way. You're like you
Like,
can
could I
go.
potentially fall into it?
No, the bag itself, like at normal, it's only like that big. Like you could, like the bag can extend.
Mm-hmm.
You could fit your entire person in the bag if you want to.
Okay. Well, we learned something. Thank you, Sindal, for the drunken lesson.
Learn something. No, we have to use it. I have an idea.
What do you have in mind?
I have an idea. Korak, you ran out. Wait, I have an idea. And I go up to the barkeep.
Let's start our own brewery.
How many old mugs do you have that you don't need anymore? I'll buy them.
Oh,
Old mugs.
Do you have any mugs I can buy?
I'm gonna buy every mirror in the city.
I mean, oh god. I mean, we don't have any that we don't use. I mean, we use all of them. I mean, if you want to buy them, I'll sell them to you. I mean, it's gonna cost you extra. How many do you want to buy?
I don't know.
it's gonna
Five.
It's gonna cost you extra.
5 mugs filled up with ale.
5 mugs filled up with ale. All right. I mean, that'll be 25 gold.
It's a lot of money.
Expensive.
Yeah, that's like more than our stay. Those are good glasses.
I put down 25 gold.
He picks it all up and he goes over and he gets 5 mugs and they're kind of chipped and used and whatnot. Fills them all up.
Great.
I hope you like them.
Thanks.
I go back and I go, for later. And I start putting them into the bag of holding.
Okay. So now marked out on the bag of holding that there are
5
5
open glasses
of ale.
of ale.
This is just like in The Witcher,
Wait.
man.
So if there's ever a day at Korak where you don't use your thing, you can just use it to fill up glasses and put them in the bag of holding.
This is the greatest thing I've ever heard of.
Now we can crack cold ones with the boys at any point in time.
On Saturday.
We're just
Saturday
we're canceling the
before the
stream
boys.
forever now. Good job, Tim. No, so is there
Insect
anything?
plague in
Are there any other drunken antics you wish to get into tonight?
Sindal, we'll leave that question.
What
to
other
you.
kinds of science
Satisfying?
experiments
Yeah,
can we
like-
do?
Okay.
That's fine.
So, you all eventually find your ways back up to your rooms to rest for the day.
Do you think if you conjure a plague of insects, and I also conjure a plague of insects, will they interact with each other?
Let's find out.
You awake the next morning.
Thank you.
Some of you a little more hungover than others, not too bad. But you all come to and you can hear the sounds of voices outside. It sounds as if there's a lot of voices down in the tavern as well as out in the streets outside. You will eventually make your way down to the first level of the tavern, where you can see that there are people that are this early in the morning, like 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. People are already well into drinks, clinking glasses. You hear slurred words amongst many of the patrons of the bar already. You can see a lot of people that are wearing very brightly colored reds and oranges and yellows, just kind of getting into the fall coloring. People are celebrating.
What time is it?
Between 9 to 10 in the morning.
People are already fucked up.
Oh yeah, people are well into many tankards of ale at this point.
Are there any leftover patrons from the night before? Did the bar ever close?
Make a perception check.
Korak still just sitting at the table with his head down sleeping.
18.
18. You can see that you kind of looking around. You do see one patron that you recognize from last night. You see him as he is being dragged by the shoulder by a large burly bouncer, and it just opens up the door and just throws the guy drunkenly out of the front door. So he just kind of stumbles, just falls down to the ground outside. Closes the door, and the bouncer just kind of goes back. Other than that, you don't see anyone else that was still drinking from 2 in the morning last night. But yeah, so you all have yourself some breakfast, as well as any drinks you wish to consume along with it. But there's a festival going on in the city. What do you guys wish to do for the day?
Shopping.
I mean,
Let's break out those ales.
Ew.
What do you say, Sindal?
No, those are for when we're.
It's later. You said later.
No,
It's
those
now
are.
later.
Those were specifically for whenever we are traveling out on the road and we have something to celebrate.
There was.
Do they stay
Shit, I
nice
have
and
that in my notes.
refrigerated in the bag of holding?
actually,
find out.
We didn't really try.
That's what
It's
we
ale.
found out. Yeah.
How does it feel?
Pick it up, look at it. It is warm and flat.
Oh.
Shit.
Other ale.
Let's lure him out.
I guess it could work for a good red wine.
Just don't open the bottle first.
You take a sip, and it is stale, flat. It's beer that was sitting out all night.
Are we outside?
No, I mean, you're sitting in the tavern. You guys
Well-
are having your breakfast.
If
If you
Just put
I
it.
would say, if you guys wish to be sitting outside, out on the patio area, you guys
Just
are
put
more
it back-
welcome to. There are a few tables.
Just
out
put it
on
back in the
outside.
bag of holding for Korak at a later point. He doesn't care.
Let's just put it in.
I'm sorry, I
Shrugs.
can't.
He shrugs and kind of nods his head.
I can't. I can't have a
Put it
good
back.
friend subject to something like this.
He reaches over and takes it from you. And
Keep the mug.
hands it back to Fenrir. Wine. No, just immediately starts drinking again.
Now we have to fight tomorrow. Just don't get too drunk, Korak.
It's all right. It's
He
all
just
right.
turns and just looks at you
Don't,
and
Korak.
takes another drink.
Korak. Don't worry about it.
I'm not.
Enjoy.
I will.
Don't remember, Lily.
So, you have the day to yourselves to do as you wish in the city. Do you wish to go about and just enjoy in the celebrations, or are there any particular tasks that you would wish to accomplish at this point?
I have a few things I'd like to accomplish.
Okay.
Well, I guess I realized things what we were
Special
doing.
necklace.
A, in my room, I would like to cast Identify on my. I think I might have already tried this. To look at my.
Beautiful topaz necklace.
Bracer that I keep. My focus.
Right.
I would like to inspect and possibly cast Identify on my focus, seeing as how things are getting a little weird for me.
Okay. We'll
Sure.
do that.
In addition to
next.
that,
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that another time. I don't have those notes with me.
there was something I wanted to try. Oh, that's right. No, that's not. That's for a later point. So, I intend to go to the Arcane Citadel. There's a few things that I would like to do. Speak to a few people, read a few books.
Looking for some.
So, I mean, is there anything in particular any of the rest of you wish to do aside from just joining in the celebration that Korak's going to do?
Is
He's gonna
there
go drink and go about doing this thing.
any points of interest that I would be interested in, or any other that we have not visited yet?
There's a lot of districts and things in the city that you have not gone to see. There is more in there was the whole military district. There's a whole lot of things to see in the southern quarter, which is where you guys currently are. There's the Commune of Knowledge, which is the district where the Arcane Citadel is found. There is more in the Harmonious district, which is where the seat of the king is found. There was you guys saw the large chapel, like the extremely large chapel that was there, as well as that is where Honor's trial, the arena that you'll be fighting in. You know that is in that quarter as well. And then there is the entire Sunken district, which is all down in the city below, in the trench that surrounds the city. There is all of that. There is all kinds of stuff down there.
Okay. And Korak's just going to party, just drink and party.
No Korak, he's partying.
Got it. I just like to explore, like enjoy the festivities, go around and explore, see if there's anything that catches my eye, but I don't really know of anything in particular then.
I mean, is there a particular area that sounds interesting to you?
I'd like to go check out the arena and see if I can actually get inside, kind of scout it out.
Okay.
If I can.
Yeah. So you're gonna head to Honor's trial. What are the rest of you guys?
I'm going to spend my day perusing the festival, drinking, playing games, stuff like that.
Okay.
Checking out booths and stalls and eating a bunch of.
I can't find this fucking dude's name.
Over. Sorry.
Write it down.
If not, I mean you have time. I'm gonna run through some
Alright,
things
yeah.
with the others. So no. You head to the arcane certificate. Let me find my notes here. Nope, not that. Not that. Where? There we go. Okay. So, as you are making your way through the city, you see again the kind of attitude that you saw with the people in the tavern, of people being extremely like over the top. Everyone is laughing and it's very loud atmosphere. People are cheering and drinking and laughing, and it is all throughout the streets. There are vendors that are out serving food and ale. There are all of it. I mean, you see people like walking through the southern quarter. You can see people with their homes that are having parties where there are people drinking. You make your way. There's the map on it. You make your way northeast through the city, passing through one of the dividing walls. You pass to and you get to the wall-off section that is the Commune of Knowledge. As you kind of walk in through that area, you see and notice the distinct shift in tone. All the rest of the city is continuing to party. This is still a quiet, subdued area of the city. You do see, as you kind of walk in, there are several. Most of the homes are very small and plain, and it's just kind of very nondescript, kind of. Yeah, just very, nothing too particular standing out until as you're walking along. You can see pretty far off, but as you kind of come more into a full view of it, you can see a large, probably 150-foot high spire rising up out of the center of it. You can see that the tower is made of like almost like a marble, like a white stone, the whole way up. It is aged. You can see that the tower is still almost pristine looking, but this tower has been here for a very long time, and there is, no matter how much magic there is to cover that is still apparent. It is, you kind of feel this natural as it kind of comes into it. You can feel almost like a hum to the air. And you feel like a calming sensation kind of come over you as you approach towards the tower. You see an older gentleman kind of comes to greet you towards the entranceway, head shaved, wearing the simple gray robes, wearing a similar necklace to what you saw Melfian wearing, with the large chains with the symbol Arion.
Can I have gone with him? Just
Sure, yeah. And he walks up and kind of quietly, greetings and welcome to the Citadel. Are the two of you here for study and research today?
A little bit of both. I'm actually looking to learn, I hope, a new spell, if you have those available for reading.
We have some.
As well as possibly some research.
I'm here for research, but also, is that everything this place does? Research, or is there?
There is research. There are those that travel here to do research themselves. There is some arcane practicing that is monitored by my fellow curators. Is there something particular you're looking for?
Well, I spoke to the Grand Curator the other day, and told her that I would recount a tale of our past for her to
Yes, she should be here. She may be partaking in the celebrations that's going on throughout the city, but I'm sure that she would be more than willing to speak with you if you made an appointment or spoke with her about coming here.
Yes, if it's possible and she's not busy.
Absolutely, I can see to it that I can see if she's not too busy. And he kind of turns and looks more to you. I'm sorry if this is presumptuous, but I must ask, as part of your heritage, are you a member of the reliquary?
I guess technically I would be, right?
Mhm.
Yes, I am a student in the reliquary.
Very well. If you'll excuse me for a moment, you see that he
Pulls out a dagger.
kind of goes to step inside, and you see that he comes back a few moments later with himself as well as two other curators. Very similar. I mean, you can see that the one is a dwarf that kind of comes up, and it's a very strange sight for seeing the dwarf. Shaved beard, shaved head. The other is a female elf, but again, the same thing. Shaved head, clean, the just kind of the gray robes. The dwarf comes up to you, Zarn. Says, "I understand that you're to go meet with the Grand Curator, correct?"
Alright, so she's not busy at the moment.
She'll be fine. It's not a problem. If you'll follow me, he kind of leads you inside. The other two turn to you and says, "The older gentleman, I must apologize if this seems rude, but it is standard practice that members of the reliquary are more prone to the temptations of the shadow. So you will be watched over by myself as well as my companion."
Certainly.
Very well. Welcome to the Arcane Citadel. And you all kind of walk in through the front gate, and you can see immediately walking through the entrance. It opens up into a small, a small entrance that is not separate from the central area of the tower. And the tower itself is it's 150 feet high, and you can see that in the area where you're coming in, the tower itself is probably about trying to get that good gauge, but probably like a 75-foot diameter. And as you guys kind of come into it, you can see that there is probably the first 80 feet going up is just shelves of tomes that stretch all the way up to the ceiling, that go the whole way around the edges of the tower. There are shelves, and there you can see that there are ladders. You can see that there is a number of these curators and other people that are walking along. Anyone that's not in the gray robes that you see, they are escorted by another one of these curators. And you can see that, and it seems like it's very quiet. It's very calm. You do see that there are some people that are partaking in their celebration, and as in there are people that are sitting at tables with tomes spread out in front of them, with like a single glass of wine or just a single mug. It doesn't seem as if they're drinking heavily, but it seems as if that in the celebration they are allowed to drink amongst the tomes. The dwarf starts to lead you off towards a set of stairs that wrap around the edge of the tower. Starts leading you further up. We'll go with you first. So it leads you up the stairs up to. It's a way. Like I said, you gotta go up lots of flights of steps to get to the top. As you're kind of working yourself into a little bit of a sweat walking up these steps, eventually you are led to an office area where the door kind of opens up, and the dwarf gestures for you to go in, and you kind of opens up the door for you. You can see that it's a small kind of plain office. You can see that there is like 3 shelves that are filled with tomes and scrolls, and you can see sitting at the desk in the center of the room, her silver hair just kind of loosely flowing around her, the small set of spectacles that she keeps hung from a small string around her neck. She's kind of sitting on the edge of her nose, as you can see, sitting amongst several other tomes, writing into the paper in front of her, you see Grand Curator Melvin Damon. She looks up. Son, it's good to see you. I was told that you were here to recant that tale like you were telling about before.
Yes, about the forgotten. I have some other questions too, but
That's not a problem. Please have a seat. And you can see as she kind of gestures, you can see kind of coming over from the side, a chair kind of slides over to the desk in front of her. And you see that the dwarf kind of standing there just closes the door and is just standing quietly, just kind of sitting and watching, listening. Please, I mean, if you have questions, we can go over this first. The recanting, I'm sure, will take some time. I will have questions myself, but
it's do you know anything about? I mean, this place clearly is an enemy of the shadow. Do you know anything about the destruction of magic items? It's like evil items.
yes, it's not impossible to destroy magic items, depending on the power of the enchantment. If it is a weak enchantment, fairly easy enough to break and destroy, but if it is something old, an artifact of some strength, some artifacts require special means to be destroyed. But
Well, I have an item that I came across some time ago that is not good in nature, and I've not known what to do with it. I was considering in Calisari just throwing it into the bay, but I didn't want it to get into anyone else's hands that could use it for bad. So I was wondering if you had any idea how to destroy it.
yes, we've destroyed many magic items that that in the wrong hands could be used by bad people. Yes, we've done this many times before. Is it a particularly powerful enchantment?
It's not that I don't think so. It has to do with necromancy, but it wasn't a
You
powerful
see,
necromancy spell.
just like a slight, like a sudden hardness kind of come to her face. An item of necromancy is nothing to be trifled with. Such magics are the route to the temptations of the shadow. Do you have this item with you?
Yes, I do. And I'll pull it out of it's the flute,
Hmm.
obviously. Pull the flute
And you
out.
kind of set it down as she takes a moment and looks at it.
We found this in, I think I spoke the other day, the temple, like it's a face temple that was defaced by followers of the shadow. So it's, I think it's to do with, I think its enchantment has something to do with the shadow.
You see that she takes a moment. You see her kind of take a few minutes and cast a few arcane spells. You can see her eyes kind of flash and a flare of arcane energy. This item is indeed based off necromancy. It allows the user to cast animate dead, to bring them back under their control, and if they are not of the correct persuasion, the flute may not work correctly. Did you know of this?
Yes, we've used identify spells on it before.
Enchantment is not particularly powerful. There is an oldness to this item. Was it a defiled temple to Arion?
I think it was, wasn't it? Was it an Orion temple? It was, I think it was, what's his face's god, wasn't it? But no.
Yeah, it was a combination of
Orion and Corlon.
Corlon.
Yes, it was a temple that I think it was originally for Corlon, and then it was converted into an Orion's temple, and then it was and then that in turn was defaced for the shadow.
Must have been a very old temple then. Had to have been from the first age if it was in worship of Corlon.
Yes, we found another item in it that we managed to get rid of, destroy.
You see her take a moment.
Yeah, what was that?
John's phone buzz.
No, what was the other item?
It was that stone that like sapped intelligence.
All right, it cursed Earth. To have you been be stupid.
Interesting. She kind of shakes her head. Yes, to break this enchantment should not be beyond the means of my fellow curators and myself. Do you wish for this item to be destroyed now?
If it's not too much of a problem, I'd like to see it happen myself.
You see that she kind of waves her hand, and you can see all of the tomes that are kind of laid out on the shelf before her. The one that she was writing in, the quill just kind of naturally goes and sets into the oil well, and all of the tomes seem to slam shut, lift, and go and place themselves back on the shelves in her room. She kind of clears the space in front of her desk. You see that she reaches into her desk and she pulls out a wand. As you can see that she starts to kind of tap the desk and kind of naturally, it's not carving into the desk, but you can see that as she moves her wand around, there are glowing arcane runes that remain on the desk. You see that she kind of draws almost like a ritual circle around the flute. Alright, you see that as she kind of goes into, you can see arcane energy kind of flashing from her eyes as the curator, the dwarf that's behind you, is just kind of patiently sitting, just watching, almost not uninterested, but I mean, just watching curiously, but not like worried or concerned or anything, thinking that he needs to help. And you sit and watch as she kind of seems to lose focus on the room around her and seems to be more fully focused solely on this arcane circle. You can see as she taps the last one, kind of muttering under her breath. You see she lifts her wand away. Thum, thum. You see the circle begin to pulse and glow. You can see the flute itself letting off this black pulse that begins to match with the glowing arcane circle. Begins to pulse faster and faster until she finally taps her wand on the very tip of the wand taps onto the flute, and you can see that it all flashes very brightly for 1 second. You see the flute remains a glowing black energy for a moment. Begin to kind of lift off like a mist. And as it begins to lift off, you hear a faint sound. Faint sound of a laughter. As the mist fades off. You see her eyes kind of blink as her eyes return back to normal. You can see her pupils are dilated and her eyes kind of come back to focus. Snaps the wand in half. Yeah. The enchantment is broken. Flute is destroyed.
Thank you.
It can no longer be used for good or ill.
Thank you very much. And I'll just put it out. I'll take the pieces and put them in my bag.
Take the pieces, put them in. So, do you have any other questions, or do you wish to begin the recanting of your tales, of your time spent in the heart of magic?
I have some research that I want to do, but it's not really. I don't think I need to ask questions about it. I just have to do some reading.
All right, that's fine.
But yeah. So, do you want me to tell the tale?
No, that's fine. You begin to spend time recanting the tale. So, no. What are you trying to research?
Well, as I'm walking with my what am I walking with?
You're walking with the older gentleman and the female elf.
Okay. As I'm walking, well, I'm quite curious. Do you all follow Arion then?
the older gentleman. Yes, Arion's will is absolute. He is, while there is worship of the other 9, the 9 as a whole, Arion's will is absolute here within the Citadel. The short answer is yes.
Fascinating. This place is a lot different than the reliquary, being that you are all much more religious and much more stout in your choosings of who you follow.
Yes, yes. While the people of old that might have once studied the arcane followed Coralon, with his demise, there is no need to follow his teachings, as Arion assumed control over the weave. There is no reason to have faith in others.
Yes, and you feel that this. I'm just like as well.
Yeah.
Because my goal is I want to pick up level 2 spell Stalls and Mystic Aura. That's what I'm looking for.
Level 2 spell?
Level 2.
Yeah, level 2 spells, sir. You can find them.
I'm curious. Do you believe that the shadow is still an omnipresent threat? Truly.
The shadow is ever present. After after Arion separated himself from the shadow, purged the evil desires from himself, that he could have a level head, calmed emotions to look over the weave. Ever since then, the shadow is ever seeking to rejoin with with the one who expelled him. Should the two of them ever rejoin, it is believed that the world itself will end. Greed will seize control over the weave, and it will lead to the utter destruction of this plane, as all others will crash into it.
I see. So you're truly separating and doing good work then for the world as we know it. Do you know much about the honest trial? Would I be allowed to cast a spell before entering?
Casting spells before entering, no. There are dispelling sigils to remove any enchantments that you have on yourself before entering the arena. And the time that you are allotted before the fight begins is when you must cast all of your enchantments.
I see. Well, the spell that I was looking for, I guess, wouldn't be quite as much of a use, but I still intend to jot it down anyways.
Of course.
For later use. During my time of research, I feel that because of my heritage, you would look ill upon. You see, all of your fear of the shadow, and I know very little of the shadow or its potential dangers, and I've researched. I'm a well-learned individual in religion in general, and the various gods that have existed and do exist still. And I know not much about the shadow, and I feel that I won't be able to learn much here for your.
There is much to be learned of the shadow here. There is not much to be learned in the practices of the shadow. If you wish to further your own arcane means to follow the pursuit of the shadow, you will not be allowed to remain here within the Citadel. If you wish to learn more of his tenets, to understand the enemy the enemy to your arcane practice, knowledge is power. To understand and know your enemy is to know yourself.
I agree wholeheartedly. I was hoping to learn more about this shadow due to the fact that you all fear him so much, and I know so little about him, and you fear for an Eladrin falling to temptation to the shadow. I would better arm myself and protecting myself from, or
There's
whatever it is.
nothing wrong with preparing yourself, and in fact, it is appreciated. We meant not to offend you for the fact that you are simply a Ladrin. It is just the fact that Eladrin on this plane are mostly from Calisari, which is where the occult reliquary is. So I had to ask out of assumption.
I'm glad that I understand it better now, then. Because I would very... You see, Arion fascinates me, and his connection to the shadow, and all of that.
There is much to be learned. So, and you can spend some time and read about the practices of Arion. You've learned, and you know some of this, but just through reading, his spheres of influence are law, knowledge, learning, and magic. He's the sovereign of law and lore. He's the lord of all knowledge. It is believed that in the pantheon of the sovereign host that it is through his writings, his scribings, that law came to exist within the sovereign host, and that he expelled the shadow from himself to assume the role of the one who watches over the weak.
So essentially, the shadow was his own emotional possibility for
It was
temptation, in a sense?
think essentially Kami and Piccolo,
Gotcha, okay.
where he expels all of his ambition, greed, envy, all of his negative emotions.
Gotcha.
He expelled from himself, as well as some happy emotions. He expelled all of these things from himself.
And then banished it?
It's not believed that he's banished, because it is believed that the shadow is present ever. Always seeking to gain control, gain some portion of the weave, bend it to its own will. But Arion, with the laws that he has transcribed over the weave, is ever constantly continuing to amend and change those laws to keep the shadow away from it.
Cool.
Is there anything else that you wanted to research while you were here?
That takes up a bit of time because the second level is 2 hours.
It's
2 hours.
2 hours per spell, assuming it's not in your school of magic.
No, I think that's like an enchantment thing. Like
Okay, so then it would be, I believe, look it up to make sure, but I think it's like 2 hours per level.
So that would probably just take up between those two things. I'm not going to try to take up through anymore. There are things obviously I don't want to worry about. But.
Right. With your researching, what else did you want to look up?
I was going to do research. I was going to do research on the Frozen King.
Frozen Emperor.
Frozen Emperor.
Go ahead and roll an investigation check with advantage.
Crit.
Okay. So.
I know everything.
And going, asking your curator for some help to kind of get you into the right area. You find yourself up on one of the higher shelves that is there's more dust on, and you kind of see that with a lot of the shelves and a lot of the books here. A lot of them are covered in dust, but there is people that are constantly cleaning them and maintaining some of the older tomes. But you go and find a book that tells about. It's almost a mix between almost like a romanticized history. And you learn, and looking through it, you see that it tells of the tale of the Frozen Emperor. Speaks of how there was a strange sorcerer from a string of islands in the freezing expanse north of the continent. The archipelago itself is called Fairthelin. During during the twilight years of the Age of Light, which is the age that fell after the Culling War. The story tells that how he marched an army of undead across the frozen seas to Nenon. Once he was here, he defeated what is known as the Circle of Six, a group of arcane spellcasters. And reading through the names, you recognize some of the names. You've never heard of them referenced in this way. It was a circle of archmages who were powerful and watched over the continent. Mordenkainen, Bigby, Dramish, Ottaluk.
Can you give me a list of these?
Yeah, I'll give it to you. Ottaluk, Otto, and Rary. And how they opposed this frozen emperor. And he defeated them. And in turn gave himself the title of Frozen Emperor. That by defeating them, he would seize dominion over this continent. The war lasted a very long time, many years, until a group of heroes called themselves the Broken Champions defeated the Frozen Emperor. After he was defeated, the Broken Champions traveled across the sea in search of Fair Fallon, hoping to destroy any remnants of the Emperor's power. At that point, there's not a whole lot left to the story. I'm kind of asking your curator. Around the time that this had happened, history becomes muddled and there's less scrolls because that is the time during the rupture. A time during which, and the dwarf kind of tells you about how at this point in time, the entire continent was thrown into a state of war and chaos as creatures from the Shadowfell began to pour into this realm and waged war against all cities. All cities fell under siege, and there's not a lot of history that's still documented at that time.
So it doesn't say whatever happened to the Frozen Champion or the Broken Champions?
No, the last thing that was documented in the book was that they went north to Fair Fallon in search of this string of islands to destroy whatever might be left of this Frozen Emperor. There might be more about the Broken Champions somewhere else amongst the tomes, but it takes some time to kind of read through this, and that's the summary of it. It was a much more elaborate telling of the story, but there's no details as to who the Broken Champions were. There's no specifics as to how long the war against the Frozen Emperor lasted, but it just seemed to be that in the twilight years of that age, there was a war, he was defeated by the Broken Champions, and then the rupture happened not long after that. And that is when history becomes muddled for the next 100 years.
I know I'm not here, but can I ask a question anyway?
Sure.
Is there any information regarding the Broken Champions as far as anything specific about them at all? No.
Not in the tome that he is reading through this. Okay. There might be something else about it in the library, but over the course of reading that book, that takes a pretty good amount of time.
That's how I was going to follow that, but yeah. Come back some other time.
But yeah. Lily, you and Korak drink the day away, enjoying the celebration. There's not there are a few sites where people are having archery games. None of it's really for any big coin or anything, but it's just a city celebration.
I remember the last time I was in an archery contest, I actually won.
Was that you that won? I thought that was
Yeah.
Jeremiah that won.
Yeah, that was me.
No, I won that.
Jeremiah won the bow, and then he gave it to Zarn because Zarn was like, "I want the bow," and Zarn was like, "Sure." I don't
Well,
care."
I guess I at least outshot Adros and someone else, which made no sense in actual.
I think you outshot me because I rolled really badly in that competition.
Anyways,
Oh, you're thinking of
The arm wrestling competition, I think.
no, it was an
No.
archery
No,
competition.
there was I think we had like a mini competition, like a test competition.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't the actual one. I think we did like a
Yeah.
like
The
a
last
pseudo
one I was in, I'm pretty sure I won.
This sounds vaguely familiar.
Oh, it was when we were in his hometown, or like the town where his friend was at.
Oh,
Yeah, outside of California.
right. And didn't somebody
That's right.
somebody threw like a huge bag of gold and was just like, was it you?
No, I think that was Vay.
Oh, that's right. He
It
was
was
like,
Vay.
50 gold. And we're like, holy shit.
Oh yeah, there was a competition out back. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it was to see if you still had your chops for shooting.
Yeah.
It literally like crushed everybody.
You can't do it because you'll be at disadvantage.
Dre. Fender, I'm sorry, I forget. What were you working on again? What were you going to be doing today?
I
Did
was
you say
gonna
anything?
go to the arena.
Oh, you were going to the arena.
Check
That's
it
right.
out.
Okay.
Work out.
We worked out at the arena.
So going through, you can
Close to the
see
entranceway.
heading into the Harmonious District. You kind of walk into the
I'm not
center
really
of the
doing anything either. I'll go with them.
So the two of you kind of go into, and you can see like everyone's doing it. Everyone's walking around and drinking. So you guys have your drinks as well. But you guys are walking through the city. You come to the Harmonious District, kind of walking through. Whenever you guys came through here before, the guards were pretty not strict, but they kept a very close eye on everyone that was coming through into this area of the city. It's a
Now they're
little
quite a
more lackadaisical today. You guys walk in, walking past the large chapel that you guys saw before, heading further, because that's in the center of this district, kind of going to the northern area of this city. You can see that of this district, you see that there is kind of going around past the chapel, kind of going barely a block off the main road. You can start to see it above some of the other buildings, and you can see as you come closer to it, as it kind of comes into a clearing around it, you can see a large red-stoned arena. I mean, it's like the Colosseum, but not broken down almost. And you can see hanging from the tops of it banners of all of the 9 of the sovereign hosts. Predominantly, you see hung among them more than the others is Dulthorn. You see as well around the arena, you can see that there are 6 large pillars that kind of raise up, and you can see, kind of taking a look and noticing, you can see that there are seats up at the tops of the pillars, as well as amongst all of the seating. The gates to the arena are open. They're not stopping anyone, and you go in and you can see that there are some lesser games going on in the arena. You can see that there are people that are doing jousting in the arena. You can see that there is as well a few small, not very notable fights. And it seems as if this is like people that aren't qualified enough to be playing in the main games. But you see that there is kind of coming up into the full site of the arena. You can see that there is. This can seat thousands of people all throughout here. Kind of gives you almost like a sense of excited nervousness, thinking about the fact that this arena will probably be packed tomorrow. You can see around the lip of the arena there are symbols of there are holy symbols devoted to Doldorn, Doldora, all the gods of the sovereign host, and you can see that there are a few arcane markings thrown in amongst them as well, all circling the lip of the arena, kind of up above where the combatants will actually enter. You can see that there are 4 gates down below for combatants to come up through, as well as a series of the arena itself is probably about 80 feet across from one end to the other, and it was more, I guess it'd be a little bit bigger than that. I'm bad with dimension. But it's fairly long. It's oval in shape, and you can see that there's a definitive line through the center of it, essentially dividing the arena into 2 halves. You can see that there are a series of 5 pillars on each side. Smaller ones towards the center, higher ones in the back, and you can see that on the center, the tallest central pillar that's on both sides, there is a set of steps that circle up around to a flat top. And you can see that there are, again, there are people that are jousting. Looking around, you don't see a podium. You don't see you don't notice the one, like any particular area that the king would be sitting in.
I had an idea for while I was going around town. I want to ask around inconspicuously about the previous champions of last year's festival. Maybe
Sure, go ahead.
names or abilities or something. What am I rolling here?
Investigation check.
I'm gonna use luck. It's
a
a little bit better. 16.
Asking around about last year's champions. You hear a name of the team. It is Nature's Fury. It's the name of the team.
Sounds like an energy drink.
And
It sounds familiar.
you don't learn any of the names of the combatants. You do hear of some of the members that were on the team last year that were particularly powerful. There was a one who calls arcane magics from beyond other worlds. You get the idea that it's possibly like a warlock. There is one amongst them who calls himself the Stormbringer. You kind of get most of that, and you learn about several of the others, but the
Tempest Claire.
You learn of there's a half-orc amongst them who wields a blade as fast as a dagger. And also a great sword as fast as a dagger. But yeah. You two. Is there anything else you guys wanted to do at the arena itself?
Actually, I was writing down something totally unrelated. No.
Or just over the course of the day in general?
Start doing push-ups in the middle of the arena.
I mean, are there any other places inside that we can scout out or see? Or
Well, I mean, you can walk around basically where anyone has public access. The lower levels where the combatants are, that is currently not open to people because there are people that are competing in some of the games, like the knights that are jousting, or some of the people that are doing the kind of in-between fights. But yeah, I mean, it's basically like going to a football stadium where there are people that have the stands that are there serving out food and drink. There are people that are belligerently drinking and cheering, and you can see that there are people that are making bets on these small games that are going on.
I guess the biggest thing I'm looking for, any advantages or disadvantages within the field of battle that we'll be dealing with. Anything that stands out that I would need to take note of that I could relate to. For now, not really.
I mean, you see with the layout of it that there are the 5 pillars that are on each side. So that in total means that there are 10 pillars amongst it, but it is essentially that on each half of the arena. You kind of gathered from what the talk of what it was before is that each of you will be let onto a half of the pitch essentially, and you will be allowed in 30 seconds to position yourselves and get yourselves ready for this fight in the arena. And you see that the layout of it currently is that there are 5 pillars on each side, kind of laid out like.
How tall are these pillars again?
Kind of laid out like if this is one half of the arena, there are 2 pillars that are more forward, 2 that are further out, and the central tall pillar.
Is it too early to start betting?
I mean, you can bet on this game. You guys haven't gone to the arena or been betted yet for what your odds are.
Yeah, then I'll just wait.
We're nowhere near this place. You can't even see any of this shit. Yeah, my
But,
36.
As for like other advantages about the field, I mean, you know the layout of the field and you've seen what it is ahead of time, so you have that much. But as for other than that, it is an even-sided playing field. Oh, to answer your question, the 2 pillars that are in the front are 10 feet high and 5 feet wide. The 2 that are out on the side are 10 feet wide and are 20 feet high. And the central one is 25 feet and is 10 foot wide, and that is the only one that has these steps that circle around it. I guess it probably has to be more like 15 feet for the stairs to actually circle around it, but it's 25 feet high with a completely flat platform at the top.
Okay.
I'd be able to put someone like Lily on top of that. Be able to shoot her
Call
spells
lightning.
in range.
I mean, is
range.
it apparent what these pillars are kind of used for, or
I'm gonna
no?
be. I'm gonna
Well, that
prepare
big one at the
for
back is pretty apparent for, but those other ones.
The pillars are just there to change up the dynamic of the field. That it's not just like a flat field where people go and kill each other.
Yeah.
Like there is space in the center for people to do fighting. Like if they want to just go straight up against it, but the pillars are there essentially to break up the fighting and provide cover for people. That it's not just like archer gets on top, open field on everybody. There is pillars to take cover behind.
Cool.
It's
Okay.
just like the last
I mean,
one.
if there's nothing else to really gather, then we can just kind of head back and relay that.
I'll relay what I found out about the previous champions.
So
Lily, you're drunk. We don't even understand a word you're saying.
No,
As
for
you-
real. There's like an otherworldly caster of arcane magic who could be a warlock, and a half orc who wields an axe sword as
Is
if
it an
he's
axe or
wielding
a
a
sword?
dagger. It could be both, for all I know. I don't know. Just people don't seem to be very specific in this town.
It was a year ago.
He uses
Technically, it's
he
two
wields
fields.
them like daggers.
But so as all of you make your way back to eventually, as the day continues on, eventually continuing to drink and celebrate and just enjoy the festival in general, all of you reconvene back at the tavern. Is there anything else you guys wish to do on the night before you guys compete? In preparation, because you guys will kind of have to be waking up early to go to the arena to get yourselves vetted. You guys will have to be getting up pretty early.
Yeah, just wanted.
So if there's any items that you guys want to attune to or change whatever else, like you guys can do what you need to do.
I'm gonna prepare call lightning, but that's really all that I have.
If not, then you guys eventually find yourselves to sleep. In preparation for waking up early the next morning, that's where we're gonna go ahead and end tonight. So, guys, hope you enjoyed it. Next week we'll be getting into some combat.
We're gonna spend the entire morning doing stuff and not actually get to combat.
It's not gonna happen.
Well, we have to buy new magic items for the.
Shop's not open that early.
Can you
Guys, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, go ahead and give us a follow. If you liked it, didn't like it, I'm an idiot. It's still an open up chat, so I don't know anything that might have been said. Just send us a message. If you guys liked it, didn't like it, have critiques, criticisms, whatever else.
Dick pics.
Just
Also dick pics, yeah.
just slide into those DMs.
Yeah, exactly.
Slide right in.
Speaking of DMs, we also have a Twitter and Facebook. Both of them, the URL is facebook and twitter.com/roll perspective. We have a YouTube channel that's down in the stuff below. We don't have enough subscribers to have an actual link to it yet. Rusty is just throwing dice, just so excited about next week.
Not even gonna be here.
No.
I hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you on Wednesday.
That sounded
Bye, dude.
horrifying. What the hell is that?